Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the greatest show on earth. This is the Umzansi Esports League Season 3, brought to you by Nordwing Gaming. My name is Dr. Sid, and I'm here with two amazing gentlemen, Snare and Actfire, as we are bringing you the hottest action in the FIFA 21 segment. Ladies and gentlemen, it's about to be some great football going on. Snare, how's your week been so far, and how are you looking forward to this weekend's games?
It's been a good week. It's been not a very calm week, but it's been one of those nicely busy weeks. And I'm looking forward to these kind of games because we're getting close here, Mr. Sid. We're getting close to the end of the road. So this is when the passion and the real kind of metal is displayed and shown by the players. So it's the most hype FIFA to come.
Fire, how are you feeling? How are you feeling? We are getting close to some knockout phases. What's popping? How's your week been?
Yeah, my weekend's been great. I mean, it's been really interesting, the entire competition, and yeah, I'm looking forward to the games to come.
Well, the games are going to be amazing, but first of all, let's take a look at the schedule and the prize pool, first of all, for today, which is a whopping $17,500, and 15,000 of that money goes to the PUBG Mobile segment, while the $2,500 goes to the FIFA segment, which is what our players in this first round are playing for. Let's take a look at the schedule for today. Of course, right now, starting in about 2 minutes, is the FIFA 21 segment. Today, we're having a matchup between DarthMayhem and the Beast Binachi. Right after that game, we'll be taking a break, and we'll be back at about 7 p.m. for the PUBG segment with matches from Iragel, Sandhawk, and Miramar. Obviously, the times of these games vary based on how long each of those matches take, but we hope to be running them at about these times. Now, let's take a look at the standings or the players for today. Ladies and gentlemen, it is DarthMayhem and the Beast Binachi coming through. In a moment, we'll be taking a look at the standings to see exactly where these players are and what they have to do to make sure that they are in a position to qualify for the finals. Snare, tell me about this. What are we looking at so far?
So with the standings as they are right now, we see all the way at the very top, Masum, Beast Binachi, the two of them with Divac, all tied up for first place. The Beast, though, has a great opportunity today because he has a game in hand over all of his contemporaries. So he has a chance today to go to number 1, Undisputed. Unfortunately for DarthMayhem, this might be the final time he has an opportunity to get enough points to get out of relegation. He's sitting at the bottom of the table, even underneath Bobo Beast right now. And Mr. Sid, if he loses today to the Beast, then I really don't see how the DarthMayhem can avoid having to play those very scary relegation games in order to stay in the Umzansi Esports League. But the Beast, he's just finding his stride. So we have a competition today between someone who's looking to win it all and someone who's just trying to hang on.
You know what they say? He's a Sith Lord. DarthMayhem needs to bring some mayhem to the Beast today in other words, to be the player who doesn't lose all his matches in the tournament so far. He does also have a very, very bad goal difference of minus 18. So he has taken a few drubbings in the last few rounds. But this is football, and you never know what to expect. It's all about the thumbs, the fingers, and the minds as we get ready to go into our first match. It doesn't look great for DarthMayhem, but then again, I have a feeling that sometimes rooting for the underdog just makes the match even more exciting. And who doesn't love an upset? You know what I mean? So even though the Beast Binachi really, like you said, has an opportunity to literally put some gap and some space on the leaderboard, Actfire, do you think Mayhem has an opportunity to just do some things and, as we say in Nigeria, shake the table small?
Yeah, I definitely do. Love to support the underdog a lot of times. But in this particular one, I think he has no chance. I just feel like this Binachi has way too much. I mean, I'm always the guy to root for the underdog, but I feel like it's going to be an absolute whooping from this Binachi. That's just my belief. I mean, we've gone through the tournament. We've seen these various players play. I just think he doesn't have enough. Yeah, for this.
Well, will he have enough? We are waiting on kickoff right now. I really can't wait to get into this game because for me, it's like when you think about it, when the players are in this position, does the Beast Bianchi come with too much confidence and not putting the work that he needs to put in to actually close out these matches? And sometimes there's a certain level of complacency that comes in when you're in a very, very secure position. Right now, the Beast can afford to actually lose this game and not be worried. But Darth Mayhem actually needs a win. So Axfire doesn't think he can do it. Snare, do you think there is a slither of hope that he can pull something or a herd of rabbits out of the hats today?
I feel like of all the opponents that he could have gone against in the situation, the Beast is the worst one, because the Beast is one of these players that doesn't enjoy playing with his food. He wants to feast on your corpse. So he feels better scoring 15 goals against you than just being, okay, I can cruise past with 2. For example, the game that Darth Mayhem went into where he got that drubbing with the massive goal difference against them by Masum. In that game, there were points where Masum, you could clearly see he let off the gas. He's like, it's fine. I don't need to score 10 goals this game. I've seen the Beast score 20 in a match. That's all I'm going to say. That this guy does never, ever, ever feel satisfied with the game. So it's a hard matchup. There is a sliver of hope, though, because like you said, he needs this more. And sometimes necessity is what births genuine ability. So this might actually be the one time where he gets a power up and finds a victory from the Beast.
Yeah, because I'm not gonna lie, I was playing FUT a few days ago and I necessarily needed a win and I pulled a few rabbits out of the hat in the final few minutes to get a win to move up in the rankings there. And for me, when I look at all these players, I say, minus 18 goal difference tells a story in itself. But do you think, and I'm gonna ask this to Tony, do you think that's a function of his skill level or just unfortunate matchups?
It may be unfortunate matchups. It may be also the fact that a lot of these players are looking to prove themselves against the players like Beast and Unfazed. You have guys like Young Savage who are really coming up and trying to get better, trying to be at the top. So I mean, he's just probably in the wrong situation at the wrong time. Where so many different players are trying to prove themselves.
The match is about to kick off, and there we go, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dr. Sid. I will be leaving you in the very capable hands of Snare and Axfire as they talk you through the blow-by-blow matches. See you guys after the game.
Thank you, Dr. Sid. So here we are. We're in this Axfire. We now need a win for Mayhem. He doesn't care how he gets it. He doesn't care what he needs to do as long as he can get a W. Like you mentioned, though, competition is tough today. It's going up against the Beast, who might have a chance to go first in the group. And I think that one of the things that he mentioned, Dr. Sid, just now was about how, players, when they need a win, you start to play a little bit more aggressively. But on the other side, the Beast has been trying to get to the top of the table since week 1, has been denied it up until now. So it might mean that he plays a little bit harder. What do you think? Who do you think has the greater fire coming into it as we see the first goal?
Yeah, I think psychologically, the Beast, has the upper hand right here because, whereas he needs to get that win, to go up the table, he's not really pressured, and because he's not under any pressure, he can just calm down and play his game. He certainly does have the upper hand, as we've seen.
Okay, all right. Something that we've seen from the Beast. He's one of the only people who reliably uses Nani. And we see it again here today, why he keeps doing so. Man, he spent a lot of time just seemingly like he was just blasting towards the goal. I feel really bad for DarthMayhem on that one. That was one of those opportunities where, man, you can't keep that goal out. What's going to happen in future? What a strike from Nani. So do you think that was the kind of goal that should rattle Mayhem? Should he change the playstyle? Or are you still okay with how spread apart the defense is right now?
I'm not really sure what exactly he can do right there in defense. I don't really think it's about his formation. It's just how he chooses, to play his game, cover the players, and set up that entire defense. For me, it's just, he's just probably against a player who's better tactically and in skill than him at this particular point in time. And, he just will have to, switch it up a bit, do something different, go on the offensive against him to have a chance in this game.
Well, and Mendy we see there providing a nice block for DarthMayhem. This will at least keep it 1-0, not make it double up on the lead. So he's trying to string together a couple of key passes. Managed to keep it on the touchline, and Mbappe was not dispossessed cleanly on that ball. Unfortunately, couldn't continue the carry. Now already has to be playing on a little bit of defense. This is going to be a big frustration, I think, throughout the game for DarthMayhem. Every single time that we've seen that the Beast gets the ball, he's been able to run it up at least until the final third, sometimes getting into the box as we see him there now. Bamba looking for the shot. Bamba finds the goal. Woo! Wow. What a turn, what a strike. And this is a problem here, because this is now the second time in a row that he just controls it purely inside the box to get in a perfect strike.
The control on that ball in the final third from Bamba right there was absolutely amazing. This is what you see from guys like Binachi, you know, just taking their chances. Remember what we said, even in that first game between Savage and Unfazed, where Unfazed won that game. The only difference between those two players were just in that final third, you know, getting your chances, taking them, and that's the difference between you know, winning or losing, and that's what we see right here from Beast. But I don't know if you've noticed this in this particular game. You know, Mayhem just hasn't had a way to get into that final third. You know, just get the ball in. It does seem like he's a bit anxious. You know, the nerves haven't settled down yet, and he hasn't been able to create any chances of his own.
Unfortunately for him, also in a situation where he's barely had a touch on the ball, so it's hard to create opportunities when you don't even have play on the ball. Bamba, yet again inside the box. We're going to try and thread the pass back through. At least he does track back on the defense with DarthMayhem, and good challenge from Varane, gets the ball out of the box. But this is an issue. Beast is always getting the ball, and as soon as he gets it, it feels like a genuine attacking threat every single time. And the question is going to be whether or not DarthMayhem, beyond simply being able to defend against the balls themselves, can his mentality hold? Can he stay in the game mentally? Because he needs to do a lot. He needs to come back with 2 goals. Right now, he's at the very least still been able to clear his lines. And with the ball onto Ronaldo, looking for a deep attack here, Akfire.
All right, definitely. Oh, I was hoping to see him create something right there. I was thinking he would have a trick up his sleeves, but he now needs to be able to defend up, in that center right there, and probably get the ball before it gets into his defense, because once the ball gets into the final third, then it's almost a goal for Binachi, and he doesn't want that. So he needs to start defending higher up instead of trying to win that ball when it gets to his defense. But I'm not seeing that happen from him, and it just seems like, you know, Beast is just having a field day right there in his defense.
Yeah, the response from him earlier on in the game, we did see that he was set up in an attacking way to try and get the ball and quickly run it off the pitch. His response to the opening goals has been to sort of try and lock down shop on the back. So the defense, the line is pretty deep. It does mean that there's no more availability for deep counters. For example, we just saw there where he got the ball and where he was trying to get the pass to. The distance was just too high, and now the ball into the Beast. He will never miss. My goodness, how frustrating is this for DarthMayhem? You die with one pass, instead you don't realize that your pass is actually an assist to the Beast, and a few seconds later he scores another goal.
Oh wow, just like we said at the beginning of the match, it would seem like it is way too much for Mayhem to handle, and he needs to pull a trick up his sleeves right now to get back into the game and get that final win. If not, he's losing this game. You know, even right here in the first leg. He's 3-0 down just in first half, and it doesn't look like Beast is stopping. Like you said, he's hungry for those goals. He doesn't mind scoring 20, and it does seem like he's well on the way with this.
The Beast gets a nice run. Man, this is also really frustrating for DarthMayhem, in that the passing runs aren't working. Trying to go for these deep overlaying through balls isn't working. It's just frustration for him, and yet again, he's still just struggling to get the ball. That's the first step. Get touches that stay positively in possession for you, and maybe things can go well, but unfortunately it hasn't been going in that direction. So we have this game go very decisively for the Beast. And look at his team here that DarthMayhem has, right? It's not like he doesn't have the availability of the players, right? This isn't a question of the players. In fact, it's not even that much of a question of even just sheer skill on the ball. It's like you mentioned coming into this when we were talking with Dr. Sid, it's just about the difference in experience and mentality between the best of the best and someone who's still on the come up. We'll see if he can come up here as the second half begins in leg 1. He needs to do something different. We need to see some changes. We did see him tinker a little bit with the aggression of his team. Do you think it'll make a difference here?
Yeah, that may be exactly what he needs. He needs to start holding that ball high up in the pitch and, keep getting those balls into the final third, create more chances as much as possible, give himself an opportunity, because he hasn't had any opportunity right here in the final third, except that run he made just before the halftime was over. So yeah, he needs to create a chance, and it does look like he's oh, it did look for a second like he was well on the way there, but he did lose the ball.
Back on the ball right now, though. Neymar looking like he can get into the box. Still keeping it. Like you mentioned, he needs to try and... unfortunately, get tackled out again. But this is signs of life, right? We're seeing a different look from him. He's slowed things down, not trying to force as many passes. He's like, well, if I can't make easy runs and overlap on the runs, then I'm going to try to develop the ball slowly. But sadly, the Beast has no time to develop the ball slowly. My God!
Into the back of the net.
Please, we got to see that again. We got to see that again. Oh my God. What a goal.
Goodness.
Wow. Okay.
When Nani struck that ball, I was actually thinking for a second it was going to go out. But the way he just rolled into the back of the net, that was pure skill. You can clearly see why he's chosen Nani. But then, when I did talk about the onslaught, having watched these two players, I actually was hoping that I was wrong and that, Mayhem, because I do love the underdog. I do love, situations where, the underdog just finds a way to win. But, yeah, he's just way too much. I know. I looked like he was going into the back of the net.
Really, really did. That's the issue, is that every single time there's a touch on the ball from the Beast, it looks like it might go into the back of the net. But here's a chance. DarthMayhem.
This looks promising.
This is it. Gets a pass to Neymar. Yeah! Neymar finds the goal.
Nice.
Yeah, boy.
Nice.
All right.
Nice.
Thank you. DarthMayhem is out here. He might not be winning the game, but we brought the goal difference down from 4 to 3. And given how things have gone when he's challenged those players at the top of the table, this is signs of life here, Akfire.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So we've seen a lovely counter-attack from him right there. And, just seeing him with the pace get into those positions. So he can create those sort of chances. And, yeah, he needs to start to set it up, force those mistakes, force those opportunities, and get the ball quickly into that final third. Once he has the space, he's shown that he can think quickly and score those goals.
Oh, what a miss.
So yeah, he needs to get that ball up into the final third quite quickly, especially when he does have space to work with. So let's see how he goes about it.
It's kind of interesting how he was trying a lot of these kind of plays, as we see another one happening now. Ronaldo looking for a redux of the goal we just saw. The preparation from the Beast, not going to be enough to force him off the ball, but what an interception. But I think it's really interesting that when we started the game, right, the style of play that got DarthMayhem this goal is what he started the game attempting. It wasn't really working out for him. And then he decided to change back to what his instinct was telling him, even when he was in a losing situation. And that's when it started to look a bit better for him. And we've also seen him tighten up a little bit here in the defense. He's not giving as much time to run on the ball to the Beast, which is where I think a lot of the early threat came from. Now he's challenging him during the dribbles, making sure he can't even get close to the final third in an easy way. And so far it's working. No goals just yet for the Beast in the second half rather.
Yeah, I think the nerve certainly got to him when he was a goal down in the first half, and he just had to change things up, change his game. Sometimes you just gotta stick to your guns and stick to your initial plan and just keep going. Even if you're go down, and that's one thing I'm seeing from players like Savage. He does not change his gameplay even when he's down. He keeps trying to come at you. He knows he's got the skill. He'll get the opportunity, and he'll keep going and sticking to his game plan. And I feel like that's what was different from Mayhem. He probably felt like he was doing something wrong, and just decided, hey, I'm gonna change it up. And that's definitely what got him in the back foot. Now you can see he's back to his original plan. He's able to create those chances. He's able to spot those runs. And yeah, he's a lot better than the first half.
We might still have to deal with an attacking play here from the Beast. The Beast! Ooh! Rare that you get this. Twice in a row that the Beast ends up spiking a ball past the back of the net. Okay, this is very beneficial for DarthMayhem. It could have been 6-1 right now, but it's only 4. We've seen already here in the Umzansi Esports League that 3 goals is not really that big of a lead and it can easily be overturned. DarthMayhem, though, wants more goals. Atal, little bit too much time on the dribble. I think he thought that Bruno Fernandes was going to track on the other side of him. He sort of outplayed himself. He actually had beaten the Beast, but then he beat himself back. Feels bad.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just thinking to myself, right? We got 9 minutes left in this game. If Mayhem can get 1 goal, it could definitely change things up for him going into the next game. Being 2 goals down, will probably not be enough for Beast Bianchi, and I'm sure Beast knows that. As he's seeing, Mayhem get into his game, but 1 more goal could definitely mean a lot for him right now. He could probably come back into the game.
Well, it depends on whether or not Mayhem can do it. He gives up a free kick, unfortunately. It's a very dangerous area. The passes, nicely done by the Beast. He's not dispossessed just yet. Bruno Fernandes dribbling in the box, looking for these roulettes, but closed down by 3 defenders. They make sure there's no avenue of advancement. Now this might be the chance for the counter-attack from DarthMayhem. Several attacking players are on. Mbappe, recipient of the ball, running down the flank. He's inside the box right now. Can he find someone to pass to? He gets it to Neymar. Neymar!
That's exactly what he
back
needed.
Into the back of the net. Woo! That's what we want. That's what we needed, Akfire.
That's exactly what he needed. That's exactly what he needed. Right there.
Like you were mentioning, just at the closing moments of the game, he gets this goal, and yes, we still are ahead by 2, but the Beast is not going to be happy about this. But more importantly, we're going to end this game here at Fire with potentially DarthMayhem being the last person to score. And you know what that kind of momentum, that kind of psychological edge can give you in FIFA. If he can just make sure he defends this, he just needs to defend now, then he'll be okay.
Yes, exactly. All he needs to do is make sure that he doesn't get, concede any goal right here. And, it may just be a start of a beautiful comeback for him. And you can see he's given, Beast less space to work with, giving his keeper a lot more opportunities to block those balls. And yeah, I just feel like if he had stuck to his guns, in the first half, he would definitely still, he'll probably be leading this game right now. He would have been able to come back, because as you can see, it does seem like the Achilles heel for Beast is those counter attacks. Like every single time he's gotten those opportunities to counter and get into those defenses, he's breaking those defenses down. He's finding, the balls into the back of the net. So I feel like he should have just stuck to that gameplay from the beginning, and he would probably have been in a better position by now. But it's great he got those goals. Yeah, it's great he got those goals.
Those goals are really incredible. It's going to change a lot for him. And 4-2 might sound like to y'all, why are we capping up get DarthMayhem, even though the Beast is winning? We're expecting the Beast to win, but DarthMayhem want to see new looks coming out of him. And he came to us, he adapted, but it turned out he didn't need to. Like Xfire is saying, stick to your gun sometimes. If you know you have the quality, deploy that quality and see what happens. And now, if he can continue this kind of pace, the Beast has really been struggling to break him down. He's tightened up a lot on the defense, and now that he's not allowing the Beast to have space on the ball, he's actually been looking like the Beast has been forced into bad shots. Like I was mentioning how it's very rare to have a situation where the Beast spikes 2 balls completely clear past the back of the net. But when you're a Beast and you're not used to also being in a situation where it's so hard for you to get forward, when it was so easy at the beginning, it makes it a bit difficult, right, to adapt in that situation. But here we are. So what do we need to do here, Actfire? DarthMayhem, like you said, you need to keep up doing what he's already been doing. He has the 2 goals to make up against the Beast. What does the Beast need to do to keep this advantage against DarthMayhem?
Definitely he needs to tighten up his defense. He's been really sloppy in, blocking those counter attacks. I do feel like, somewhere at the back of his mind, he underestimated his opponent's attacks right there. And, he didn't think much was going to come out of it. I do understand the sentiment, seeing how Mayhem played in the first half. You probably wouldn't expect too much. And that, underestimating him that way was what got those 2 goals for Mayhem. So all he has to do is just tighten up his defense, because seeing what's been working so far, which is just keeping a tight defense and going on that counter attack, Mayhem, might find a way to crawl back into this game. So yeah, Beast Bianchi just has to tighten up in the defense and just keep going, keep trying to get those goals and score more goals. But so far, it does seem like, judging from that second half, he just can't seem to find the back of the net.
We'll see whether or not he's going to have made the internal adjustments to find the back of the net and prevent DarthMayhem from finding his, as leg number 2 is now underway. DarthMayhem needs this victory in order to get some points on the board. Even if he can find a draw, it would be something for him. However, for the Beast, victory here today, if nothing changes, he is currently number 1 in the leaderboard. What will happen in the second leg? So far, the Beast controlling the position, and he's trying to develop these passes slowly. We've seen the threat that can be present when this happens.
Yeah, that's definitely what you hope to see from the Beast. He knows how to break you down, even in those tight positions, and just a little chance here and there. Just get the ball at the back of the net. But as Mayhem, on the other hand, loves his counter attacks and loves to explore those spaces, and that's definitely what you see him trying to do here.
The run, unfortunately, doesn't actually have it going into a positive area. He runs it off the back of the touchline. It was still a very good attempt, though, right? And this is kind of the thing that we need to see from him. It doesn't seem like he has been stopped, really. Nice interception. Greatly done there by DarthMayhem. Okay, beautiful pass, but a little bit too much mustard on that ball. A little bit too much mustard.
Weight on the ball, right? Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely too much weight on the ball right there, but that was a really good pass, really good side. And I love the way, Mayhem just, is quick on his attack, quick on those true passes, he understands his tactical level. And that's what you see from players like this, they know that they're not going to break you down slowly. So they've got to switch it up, into those counters. But this may change the game for him. Oh my
goodness. You were just speaking about how certain players know they will not break you down slowly. They gotta do it quickly. But the Beast reminds us that anything you can do, I can do better. Literally the same counter attack attempted by Mbappe from DarthMayhem is stopped. But when the Beast does it with his own style, Bamba puts it into the back of the net. We now have a 3-goal deficit yet again. Despite how things started looking for DarthMayhem, he's now looking for this attack, but you wanted the Beast to tighten up his defense, and the ball is still finding its way through into the final third, but there's no way it's going to find itself into the back of the net with this kind of defending from the Beast.
Yeah, definitely does look like he's tightening things up right there, block those true passes and stop them from getting in. And now he's just going on the offense. But one thing I do like about the Beast is that you can see that he's more cautious about the way he's keeping possession, and yeah, it's making a difference for him in this particular game and stop that momentum coming from Mayhem.
Dr. Sid mentioned in the pregame how sometimes you can let the gas off a bit when you think you're going to beat your opponent. We see a goal now from Bamba again!
Goodness!
Again! My goodness. Bamba gets the ball, yet another wonderful turn. Gets it into the back of the net. And this is what we like to see from the Beast. He has adapted. There's more respect for the opponent, more ferocity on closing down the ball. And here, unlike in the second half, in the second leg, the Beast is not missing. Act fire. The lead is somehow back up to 4 goals again.
Yeah, definitely. Oof. There's just... Oh, that was lovely to see. That was really great to see. That was really great to see. It's just one of those moments where, you're still celebrating. The match is still going on, but your opponent just finds a way to get 1 goal back and reducing that deficit down to 3 goals. Man, but Mayhem definitely needs to, pull something out right here. If not, the game's probably over, and this could be it. What?
Oh no!
That could definitely be the end of the game for him. You don't miss chances like that. That just felt like a gift.
That was literally a perfect chance. You will never get such a free chance against the Beast again. That was a guaranteed goal that will not go into the back of the net. And now suddenly the Beast trying to get his own goal. Bamba back on the ball. Can he turn past Varane? No, he cannot. The defense staunch and solid from the Frenchman. And the counter-attack is on. This might be offside. He chips it over. Does it go into the back of the net? No! No! 2 for 2 in terms of opportunities given and opportunities missed.
Yes, yeah. I mean, but regardless of what you say about Mayhem, Yeah, he has a lot to work on in his game. You know, he needs to be a lot more dynamic when it comes to, oh my goodness, it just keeps going in. It just keeps going in.
Oof. The way he's been threading together these passes, wow. That goal is incredible.
The base has just been way too much for him to handle. And you know, like I was saying, regardless of what you say about Mayhem, he does have a lot of potential that I think will work for him in future tournaments. You know, he's really deadly in that counter attack, and if he does work on his defense, and you know, having another game plan, you know, you're not always going to get. It does seem like he's always setting up for that counter attack for those open spaces, and you're not going to get those chances against a lot of players. So he needs to have, you know, some sort of other plan, you know, in breaking down those defenses without it being, you know, the runs and the counter attacks and all of that, you know. So he does have a lot of work, you know, to do in his game, but he does have a lot of potential and something dangerous about him on that counter. I mean, and if he does improve his defense and, you know, has other options, then he could really be a dangerous player in the future.
Absolutely. I mean, he scored 3 goals here in this particular series against one of the best to ever do it. Somebody who's literally just qualified for the FIFA E World Cup. So you know that this person has the chops, has the talent, and you're still scoring goals against them, man. You're not being blown out of the water, right? We've seen obviously a really bad matchup for DarthMayhem in the Umzansi League before, but he's been getting better. He's been getting better. Week after week, you can clearly see the improvement and the fact that he's learning from some of the best. And though, like you say, you might not always find yourself in the position to get these counterattacks, when he gets them on, he looks like some of the best in the business. The issue is, though, FIFA, not just about attacking, also about defending. Might have to mount one just before halftime here, as Mbappe on the flank. Julio, can he get this ball into the box? He's looking and searching for an attacking player here. Doesn't find one, so forced to recycle it back into midfield. And with Vieira getting the interception, halftime will be on. 1 leg left. He needs to somehow score 4 goals in 1 leg, in one half of 1 leg. Can he do it?
I don't mean to be pessimistic, but for me, I just don't see it happening. He may come back with a couple of goals, maybe 2 goals. I do think the match could end up in a 3-2, but or a 3-3. But I don't just see, you know, him coming back fully into the game and, you know, winning. But let's see how it goes. Never say never.
As you're saying that, he gets a corner kick for himself, goes in for the straight up corner. We don't see that very often in the FIFA 21 meta. It's generally the short pass that's preferred, and there's a reason why that's preferred. You guarantee greater possession on the ball, and now possession's been given up. This is also an issue that we saw at the beginning, which sort of fixed itself in the second half of leg number 1, the possession game. He started being much more proactive and aggressive in making sure he has the ball. Even if he wasn't just counter-attacking with it, we did see more time spent in possession than in that first half. However, in the second leg, Julio's been yet again making it very hard for DarthMayhem to actually play the ball itself. Most of the possession has been the way of the beast, which is really difficult to have in a game where you're playing from behind, Akfire.
Yeah, exactly. You know, another thing, you know, I've noticed about the Beast is he understood that at some point in time his game became really predictable and easy for Mayhem to defend against, and he had to switch things up. You know, allow him to attack him a bit more, create the spaces, and even now begin to counter attack himself. Thus creating, you know, being dynamic about his play, and that confuses the opponent sometimes, as you could see in that goal where he got a counter.
Yeah, definitely. Speaking of counters, the patented version coming out here from DarthMayhem. Ronaldo unable to find a pass to Cartel. So immediately, might lead into a Julio counterattack. He's like, okay, you want to play this game? Fine, let me show you how I do it. Rashford to Bamba, Bamba to the back of the net. Anything you can do, I can do way better. Bamba, 4th goal of the game, making it 8 goals on aggregate for Julio the Beast Bianchi.
Bamba just keeps getting those balls at the back of the net and punishing Mayhem over and over again. It just seems like, you know, the nerves are unsettled. But for me, you know, my advice to him is just keep keep on honing your game, improving your defense, you know, getting better, add a little bit of, you know, extra to gameplay, you know, aside from the counter-attacks, and he will really be a dangerous player.
Just need some new looks. Bamba gets past another defender. The final defender. Oh my goodness. Ferland Mendy. If not for that tackle, then we're having 5 goals in this game. We see now yet another counter-attack. Like you mentioned, this is the way he has. It's the primary plan. Sadly, it has not worked out for him in leg number 2. This game plan has been figured out. Like you mentioned, he figured out the Beast and the Beast figured him out. And the attack from Atal gets blocked off. And it's a goal kick as well. Doesn't even get the luxury of a corner. Feels bad.
Yeah, definitely. I did feel for a second that was a corner kick. But yeah, it wasn't. I'm just studying the way he's set up in this particular game. I'm just wondering, does he, you know, if he were to begin this game again, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Okay.
What do you think he could have done, considering his style of play right from the first leg, that would have probably been different for him?
Considering his style of play, I think this is part of the issue, right? Is that he seemed most explosive when he basically doesn't have time to think, right? It's just ball, pass, bouncing all across the field. But so slowing it down doesn't necessarily seem like it would be the best option for him. Maybe if he put a little bit less focus on the attack and the flank, and you see these deep runs, if you try to develop this from the midfield, and we see sometimes Masoom, who ironically enough was the person who put to bed DarthMayhem a couple weeks ago, he often plays that kind of style where his deep attacking runs will actually come from the middle of the field rather than on the flanks. So maybe he could have tried for that, but I don't know. The way it's looking right now, the issue is also that it's not like the Beast doesn't have experience playing against all these various styles. So he also has ways to adapt against you, as we've already seen from this one, that no matter what you have to bring to the table, he has a plan. It might not be the best plan, but he'll eventually figure out a better plan against you. So I'm not even sure that one style is enough to beat the Beast. Like you're mentioning, you need to bring as many looks as humanly possible to have a chance against a player who can adapt. And now, Nani on the ball for the Beast, looking for goal number 6. Will he get defended? Okay.
Right. He's definitely a player who is hungry for more goals, like you talked about in the beginning of the game. You know, he doesn't mind scoring 20 goals against you. He'll keep coming over and over again. And yeah, he's definitely looking to just keep punishing Mayhem. And he's playing like he's a goal down, even though he's 4 goals up right here in the second leg.
That's actually true. He's the one that's been like ferocious on these balls, right? And every single tackle, it's him that's being very meaty on it. He's the one that's sometimes sliding on the ground like he's a goal down. Do you think maybe part of him is thinking, man, I want to have the biggest goal difference here against DarthMayhem? Maybe he's losing to Masoom in his mind. So he needs this goal. Nope, not going to get it. It's good defense there from DarthMayhem.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's no need to take your foot off the pedal right here. You need to get those goals in and increase those goal difference. So that's obviously what he's going to be thinking about. You know, just get as much goals as possible right here, if you can, and just keep pushing over and over again. You know, and keep punishing your opponent. I mean, the question is, why not?
Yeah, absolutely. Why not? Like you mentioned, the goal difference actually has an impact on your standings overall. So it matters quite a bit whether or not you can get as high of a goal difference as possible. We'll see now towards the end of this game, the final passages of play with these final few minutes. Will he be able to at least get one back for DarthMayhem? Or are we going to have a 6th from the Beast? Only 2 minutes of regular time remaining. Stoppage time probably only going to be about a minute in this one. And unfortunately, even now, Actfire, he still can't get clean touches on the ball without the Beast immediately closing him down.
Yeah, obviously the tired legs, you know, do have a part to play in this particular point in the game. But Beast just bringing in another cheeky skill and increasing the goal difference again. Oh my goodness! Now we do have a 7-goal total lead across both legs.
Wow. 7 goals in total, 10 goals scored on aggregate. The Beast has been out here today. Definitely adapted. The second half of leg number 1, not necessarily his best showing, and it seemed like there was some signs of hope for DarthMayhem, but that hope was buried. That hope was put to bed. The Beast. Not only does he win 6-1 in leg 2, not only does he get himself a 10-3 victory, but he goes home today, gonna go to sleep being number one. Number one, the best FIFA player in the Umzansi Esports League at the moment. What a guy. What a game this was. I really thought that DarthMayhem, I was hoping that he might be able to adapt after that first leg, but unfortunately, you know, like you were saying, you need to change up. Guess who changed really quickly? The Beast Binachi. And he gets a W as a result.
I have the ultimate theme song for today.
Lay it
You
on
know
us.
what it is?
Lay it on us.
It is, I am the beast. Feed me mayhem or feed me beef. Listen, when you said he doesn't play with his food, you were not joking. I was kind of hoping that the scores would be like 10-4 so I could say Roger over and out. But, you know, Mayhem did put up a fight, but it was not good enough at all. Final scores 3-10. The Beast Binachi takes it, and with that goal line and this win, moves into the top of the leaderboard with 12 points, winning every single match he has played. He has a 100% record with a goal difference of 15, 7 coming from this particular match. This has been a masterclass, as I like to say. I can't believe what's happening here. Look at that. Look at it. Masoom in second place with 9 points and 13 goal difference. Divac on 9 points as well. Unfazed Young Savage with 6 points each. Mobizilla 4, Bobo Beast 1 point, and DarthMayhem with 0, the only player to have lost every single match in the Umzansi Esports League Season 3, with a really, really heavy goal difference of -25. I mean, would you put that down to bad luck, or what would you call it? Because he has had really, really bad matchups in this tournament.
I think it's a bit of both, right? He's had some bad luck, but I think the main issue is just that the degree of competition has just gotten so good. Had he been here in Umzansi Esports League Season 1, I'm not even joking to say that from what I've seen from DarthMayhem, in Season 1, he probably would have ended 4th or 5th, right? But all these players who've been here from Season 1 have also been getting so much better since then that the degree of competition is just a bit too much for him to handle right now. But I think where he really is faltering at present is just that mental game of how to play when you're behind is that little edge that he's missing versus everybody else ahead of him. And everybody else ahead of him, the one common thread they've all had, except Beast, is at some point they've all been behind and came back. But DarthMayhem, it seems to be the case that when he gets behind, it's shy from that point.
You know, I did actually notice that there was a point where it felt like he had just, you know, given up. Like everything he had tried didn't work. Tony, you know, I mean, at this point on, what would you say to Mayhem?
Definitely, he is good at a certain thing, which is the counter attacks, and he can be explosive when he's, you know, quickly pushing those balls up from the flanks and then into the final third. So for me, what I'll say to him is keep improving your skills there, but you have to have another plan. Okay, you're not always going to get those opportunities, and if he does, you know, it sort of feels like he does luckily get those opportunities and starts to pass the ball quickly up. But he needs to start to create those situations. So soak up the pressure, take it in, and then create those situations. It did feel like he wasn't putting himself in those circumstances and consciously, you know, creating those chances over and over again. But you know, it's easy to notice that. You know, it's even when he does create those opportunities, it's easy to notice. Okay, this is what this guy is doing, and you know, plan against it. So he also needs to have another plan. You know, another style of to his game. So yeah.
Well, like I said, with the theme song, we taking over, and the Beast has definitely taken over the leaderboard. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to say a big thank you to Tony Agfire and Sean Snare. My name is Dr. Sid, Sydney Dr. Sid, and I'm signing, or they are signing out. I'll be seeing you guys after a brief break for the PUBG mobile segment. I know a lot of you are looking forward to that. I will see you guys after the break. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the action that is the Umzansi Esports League Season 3, brought to you by Nordwing Gaming. My name is Dr. Sid, and we are here in the PUBG mobile segment. Of course, as you can see, I'm not here alone. I'm here with two of my best buddies, Patchy and DK, and we are here to bring you all the action. As you may have seen during the break, if you were waiting on anticipating the action. There's a lot that's been happening in the Umzansi Esports League. So if you're not following us on Nordwing Gaming on all our socials, you need to do so now so you stay up to date with all the action. Without a further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look at the schedule for today so you can have an idea of what's to come on this amazing evening.
Yeah, and of course it is going to be our standard run through as per usual. Obviously, the FIFA segment being done, we have 3 maps ahead of us today. As usual, it's Erangel, it's Sandhawk, it's Miramar, and of course it has been quite spicy. I think all of us can definitely say that the last week was definitely quite a change of pace, but a very welcome one. So I'm really hoping that we sort of have a continuation of that this week.
And we're talking about continuation. Let's look as we continue to take a look at the prize pool for season 3, which is set at a wowish $17,500. Of course, with $2,500 going to the FIFA prize pool and $15,000 staying right here in the PUBG Mobile segment. Speaking of the PUBG Mobile segment, let's take a look at the latest leaderboard, considering all the matches that have been going on. DK, do you want to talk us through what's happening over here?
Well, it is still a pretty tight fight, especially as we look from the player's position from second place moving downwards. As you can see, of course, those total points being so close together. Of course, Undisputed AE starting to put in a little bit of a gap, starting to move a little bit further ahead of the rest of the pack, bringing in those 2 chicken dinners and, of course, bringing in a grand total of 40 total kills. And that was just in this past weekend that we saw them going absolutely crazy with those games. So, of course, you know, it is going to be quite interesting to see what will happen as we move on through into our second weekend. But now, as we move on to the back end, the second page there, of course, of the leaderboard, there we still see it is still pretty close with, you know, regards to where the teams are situated. As we can see, of course, the difference between BBC and Rainbow Six Madagascar only being a 5-point difference there. Scincerity Esports, who we saw in that in the one match, just stepping up, coming out of nowhere with absolute aggression, of course, bringing in 9 kills in our first match of last week. Now currently sitting down over in 11th place there on 39 points. So we could still see quite a bit of potential shifting coming in on this overall leaderboard as we now move into the final page. Again, still the teams pretty close together, and I mean it is still going to be a neck-in-neck fight all the way through to see who will be moving up onto those you know, first 2 pages.
And speaking of the players who would have an opportunity to move up to those first few pages, the things they have to get are points. And this is the point structure as it's been throughout this tournament. First position gets 15 points, second 12, third 10, fourth 8 points, fifth 6 points, sixth 4 points, seventh 2 points. People in the 8th to 12th position will get 1 point, while those in 13 to 16 get 0 points. But of course, as we know, the almighty 1 kill, 1 point, which has set the difference between so many teams from top to bottom on the leaderboard. And as we have now a brand new information for you, Patchy, what are we looking at right now?
I was actually about to reference this as soon as we got back to our conversation. I was about to reference the really nice graphic, but since we have it here, shout out to the broadcast, Oaks. Some nice graphics right here, and you'll notice that 2 out of these 4 players are from Undisputed AE, one of course being Potato, the other being Inspector, and that's no surprise because UAE are currently sitting right on top of that leaderboard. But what we've got here is a little bit of a breakdown of our kill leaders, our toughest players, the real Oaks to watch out for, the guys that you really have to be careful around. 14 kills on Potato and BBC Lord. Then, of course, Mercury and Inspector coming in with 12 of those survival times looking nice. Those damage numbers looking pretty nice as well. So, yeah, you need to watch out. If you see these guys on the battlefield, you're going to have, most likely going to have a tough time.
Wow, those are the kill leaders. Now we take a look at the teams that will be going head to head today. Our Group A, which we have Gamers Unite Nations, Immortalz, NFxUnique, Not Gaming, Rainbow Six Madagascar, Natural Killers, Fear, and Ultra Six. Those are the teams in the Group A. Now let's take a look at the teams in Group B. Obviously, we have Group A and B going against each other. G3 Temper, Undisputed AE, Scincerity Esports, Influence Rage, Drogons, the Comfy Cartel, BBC, and Young Thundercat. So that is Group A versus Group B. We have obviously 3 matches today, which is going to be games 4, 5, and 6 in the semi-final stages of the Umzansi Esports League Season 3 PUBG Mobile Tournament. The action is about ready to pop off. DK, what are we expecting today? It's been action-packed all weekend. The teams have had 4 or 5 days to relax, play some scrims, get some new strategies together. What are we expecting?
Well, if last week was anything to go by, you know, we're expecting continuation of the efforts that we've seen come through. I mean, absolutely aggressive, phenomenal start to the first weekend, and hoping to see the teams bring that right back in towards the second week as they're going to be going at it. And I'm curious to see whether or not the players there from Undisputed will be able to increase the lead that they've got. Already finding 2 chicken dinners and a bucket load of aggression, looking to see whether or not that's going to be the case. But we also did see in the final game of last week, we did also have the players from Gun step up and claim that chicken dinner. So we've been seeing that consistent play come in from Gun across the board, reminding everyone that they are still a team to be reckoned with. But what's also pretty curious to see is that we have the side of G3 Temper that has been moved so far down that leaderboard. They are currently sitting all the way down over in towards 13th place. So we've seen strong plays from them in, you know, past seasons, past weeks. But I'm curious to see whether or not they're going to be stepping it up and bringing it back this week.
Well, step up and bring it back. I'm hoping that we get to see some action. I'm hoping we get to see some of the guys at the bottom shaking the tables, as I like to call it, and moving all the way up into some amazing positions so we can have some hot contested action. From what I've been told, the players are putting on their backpacks, getting ready to step into the plane, wearing some amazing outfits as we prepare for our first map, which will be on Erangel. Now, Apache, what are you looking forward to today?
Well, I think from my side, there's something really important that I'm looking for in that I don't think I'm going to be super satisfied with these games today unless we see consistency. Because it's all great that we started the round off really, really strong and we got really hyped for that and it was awesome. But if it's not going to stay consistent, then we're going to see that leaderboard be really, really, not very stable. It's going to be very, one team's here and then suddenly they're down here and another team's coming back up. It's going to be a little bit of a mess. So I want to see some consistency from some of the teams. For example, for a team like UAE, they started out really strong in the previous round. They sort of dialed it back a little bit. Some of the other teams took it over. At the moment, they've got a really good chance. I think I saw 4KT on like the last page of the leaderboard right now. So there's actually a couple of teams that usually make it quite high that are not in their way for the moment. If they can keep consistency, they might be able to stay really, really high on the leaderboard, which will be interesting to see. So I'm hoping that we get to see a little bit of the consistency from the teams that performed last week.
Consistency is all we can ask for. Consistency with action and consistency in giving you all the best analytics and action. And the guys who always do that are DK and Pachi, which you are in their hands now. I'll see you guys after the match.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Sid. It is, of course, game number 1, map number 1 out of 3. It is Erangel, and it is going to be, hopefully, a spicy set of games here. Hopefully we start out with a bang once again. You know, as I mentioned, I want to see some of that consistency coming out of the teams. Of course, I think we also have a lot of fans in the chat that are also, a lot of viewers that want to see some of those traditional teams step it up. I think Gun is vying for the positions now. They're also quite high on that leaderboard, as you mentioned, DK, have shown us that they can move up there regardless of the situation. They can get those points in. So definitely, there's a lot of teams that I don't think we can count down and out just yet. I mean, it's still the beginning of the round. We're only, barely just moving through the weeks here. So definitely a lot more potential for these teams to prove themselves.
Yeah, it is going to be interesting to see, of course, as we get to the end of this weekend. That will, of course, mark the halfway point for the semi-finals. So quite a bit of a point acquisition still up for grabs here, as the teams still have numerous matches and rounds to go through. But of course, looking at this first zone, and of course that flight path we just saw up in towards the northwestern side, the zone has moved onto the far edge there of the east. So definitely opening the options up for the teams to try and move into. But of course, already over in towards Georgia Ball, and even the bridge that we have in the vicinity close towards the Georgia Ball crates, we already see those shots starting to pop off as the teams get straight up into the aggression. And now we're looking to see, of course, what the teams will bring as they now enter that looting phase, getting ready to set themselves up for the coming few rounds. But of course, already Snorra stepping up right out the gate, sending their heads on over and just causing absolute mayhem already now on the side of Scincerity.
Yeah, nice opening the gates with a little bit of action, which is great to see. We like that. Hopefully that continues. It is a bit of a trend here. These teams have definitely been a lot more active, and we were having the conversation about the teams actually stepping it up to sort of move into the next phase. As it were, sort of moving into, okay, now we really have to get the game on. Now we really have to make something happen. So, and I think they have a lot to prove moving forward, because now is where the points start to really matter. You've got to start placing a little bit higher, and because there's less teams, it's less space. It's not going to last forever, and you make sure, or you need to make sure you're up there. So, yeah, it's good to see the teams a little bit more cognizant of that, a little bit more active around the map, and starting things off pretty strongly. Snurra getting a little bit of damage in there, but he does have some of the heal to block those shots, so he's still good to go. A couple of teams moving forward. I thought we were Rainbow Six just to the one side. And yeah, so there's a lot of teams in position to get the action going, and it's good that they're looking for it. It's good that the intention is there, because that's really ultimately what leads to things happening.
But this is, of course, where Snorra needs to be, pretty careful and not get too overconfident, as he is, fairly separated from the rest of his team. Good to see him taking that disengage and now choosing to rotate back up further in towards the safety, because it is all good and well taking the engagements when you have the opportunity, but it is also essential to find kind of that balance, that you don't get too confident and think that you can just go on a roll and just do 1v4 everybody that you see on the lobby. So a good call there from Snorra, of course, on the disengage. But now as we move on just a little bit further up on towards Yasnaya, we're going to see, of course, the players here from Ultra 6 now going through, looking to get the loot ready, but they do have another team situated just to the north of them. So they still need to be a little bit cautious of how they make their way through these compounds, because we could see those engagements coming on through at any particular point. And of course, the team that we have off in the distance, as you mentioned, they're being the players from Rainbow Six Madagascar. So definitely looking to seeing what the teams will be bringing as they make their way through this first round. And of course, the first phase with the blue zone now starting to close on up. That is where things could potentially start getting a little bit interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's actually where they do get interesting, because that's what was happening last week as well. We have, of course, as one would expect, we have that slower first initial setup period, although the teams are looking to at least be a little bit more active than usual, and we can see the result of that. There is still that setup phase that has to happen. You need to make sure you've got stuff. You've got to make sure you have the meds. You've got to make sure you got the ammo. Make sure you got the guns. You have to be set up, but it seems like the teams realize, or at least are showing a little bit more of their hand when it comes to their ability to actually do two things at once in terms of we're making sure that we're getting that loot, but we're also making sure that our eyes are on the horizon. We're looking out to see if anyone's in the compound next to us. Make sure that we know where the enemies are now, and also not just know where they are, but also make sure that they know that we're here and we're watching them, right? Because one of the other things is that the teams, we saw this very, very long ago, I think. I can't remember which season it was, if it was even Umzansi, but we had one situation where there were like two teams standing literally across from one another in two opposite houses, and neither of them, both of them just refused to do anything. Neither of them pushed, neither of them engaged. It was just sitting there doing nothing. And, that's something that not only do we want to avoid, but we actually want to do the exact opposite. You want to be a little bit more proactive. You actually want to probe and prod at your enemies and say, hey, listen, we're here, and we're actually putting shots at you. We're taking a little bit of, we're just annoying you. We're not going to team wipe you, but we're going to do the damage. And speaking of damage, G3 putting a little bit of damage in there to NFxUnique as they try and make a rotate up, and that's going to cost them quite a lot because Keish gets knocked straight out of the vehicle. That's basically a free thirst for G3. Zist very, very low on HP, has to try and cover his teammate, but I mean, there's nothing much he could do. Very little cover, no team to back him up. So that's basically a guaranteed kill for G3. That's an extra point there, and NFxUnique find themselves down a man straight off the bat. So that's a little bit of a tough rotate to make, and Zist just has to make that tough decision, has to leave a team behind.
It's going to be interesting to see, though, especially what the players there from G3 is going to be doing, because we just saw them now, getting the knock up on towards Keish. And now with the addition of Flacco being back, right, will this be the opportunity for G3 to get that bounce back that we've been waiting for, stepping up, bringing that caliber of play that we've been seeing coming in from them? Having the team all back together and ready to roll, it's going to make for an interesting day. So I'm really curious to see what G3 will be bringing as they now look to make their stand, look to make their play. And of course, we have that blue zone closing on up. So it's going to be interesting to see, of course, also where the next phase will be taking them and how the teams are going to try and anticipate those rotations. Because as we've seen already in last week's games, there is quite a bit of aggression coming in from the team. So following suit, we are expecting to see that aggression come in, and of course the teams looking to accommodate for that.
Yeah, to answer that question, I think G3, they did look a little bit like a flat tire in terms of their performance previously. They weren't able to get over the line that we usually expect them to get over. And I mean, like you said, maybe the addition of Flecko is really what they need to keep that, the motivation back up, get themselves back in that headspace. Because I know personally, just speaking from experience, I know how difficult and like off-putting it can be when your team, that full stack, isn't there. Things can start to fall apart. You need everyone in there to make a proper full binding team, the glue that holds everything together. So, I mean, with a player like Flecko back on the team, I definitely think that is going to be a big change for them. And it's definitely going to provide them that opportunity to bring themselves back into a realm of performance that we expect from them. But of course, we will see if that's going to be the case or not, in these games today. So we'll just have to wait and have a look and see, because so far they do seem to be on top of things. I haven't seen them make any particularly bad mistakes or notable mistakes or blunders or anything of that sort. They seem to be pretty active here. We've got Bearden getting some high ground, making sure he's got a good look out on things happening. This is classic G3 style. We see them, they love to get a look out. They love to know who's around them so that they can just annoy everyone. And speaking of annoying, we've got Influence Rage here, just making NFxUnique's life really, really tough. Lots of shots coming in from Hensley, and it's putting quite a bit of damage there. And now they're just hopping into the vehicles, and they're moving straight on up in for the kill, ready to put those points on the board. This is what we love to see. Terry now just keeping an eye on the rest of the team as it moves on up. He's going to try and put the shots in towards Influence Rage, who's taking control of the top of the hill. Got a little bit of cover here in the house, but he does have to be careful. These teams do definitely know how to put the shots in, but there it is. The shots coming in from Hensley, going to put FaZe down. Snurra in the meantime going to get taken down by G3. Zist puts the shots in back towards Hensley, and 6 takes Snurra down. TP also going to get knocked as well as Zist. So Influence Rage suffering a little bit of damage, but definitely returning fire for sure.
I mean, this has been a really tough start for the side here of NFxUnique, as you can see. You know, their numbers not looking too great, but they are holding on, looking to follow through with the engagements. But of course, Influence Rage, they just holding on to the compound already now, being able to retain their numbers, not losing Sleepy or Sloopy, whichever one that is in the process. But now, as we move on over back towards G3, they are now quickly just going through the loot that we saw them find on the end there, of course, coming in from the players of Not Gaming. But it's going to be interesting to see, though, where these teams are going to start moving in. We did come to the end of the second phase, as that blue zone is, of course, now closing on up. But, of course, the zone is going to be moving up once again, just shrinking in on itself. And that is where things could get particularly difficult for the teams, as we could maybe see some of them moving into pretty close proximity to each other. But for the time being, the side here of G3 holding up in towards Watertown, not moving in just yet. They seem to be safe in zone for the time being. But as we jump on into the side here of Yaga, we can see, of course, the side of the players there from Scincerity just up ahead. Now, Zeus and Yaga are going to look to make the stand for Not Gaming. They're going to be looking to potentially secure themselves into those later phases and possibly even find a few hits, as we now can, of course, see that zone has popped on up once again. Gun positioned right there, just on the outskirts of Pachinki. And, I mean, Pachinki itself could maybe be the center point for the coming zone.
It certainly could, and that would be quite interesting if it was. We're about to see where the zone is going to go next. For the time being, a decent spread of the teams forming a little bit of a circle, actually just within the zone itself. Not too close, but definitely close enough to continue to engage, at least for the long distance shots. So good to see that the teams are cognizant of that, but now they're waiting for the space to be reduced just a little bit more. We're moving in towards zone number 3, which is, of course, going to reduce the space a whole bunch. We've only got 16. I mean, we still have 16 teams remaining, should I say, is what I'm trying to get at here. We still have plenty of players, plenty of teams to take up the space. But as we run out of the space, of course, we do have to start seeing the fight. Unfortunately, we haven't seen any team wipes just yet, but we've seen some pretty decent damage being done. Not Gaming, having lost one of their 3 players that they've come in with, is going to be a little bit of a difficult time for them. BBC, of course, here on your screen is inside the zone. Despite that, Falak going to be moving up with the buggy, seeing what he can see. Right up ahead, the comfy Cartel might just be ready for his approach. Definitely going to have heard this buggy for sure. Question is Falak going to be able to escape with his life? Shots coming through. Jaeger really trying to nail Scincerity as they move past, as they rotate across. They're also going to have to get the butts moving because they're outside of the zone. So, you know, just make sure you keep ahead of that one. You don't want to lose any damage. I think at this point, you need to be really, really wary of that blue zone if you can be. Because the teams are really on edge these days. You know, these last couple of weeks definitely have been showing us that they can put in some crazy shots, and you can't really take any chances with these guys. So you definitely don't want to lose HP if you don't need to. Comfy Cartel actually going to be pretty much surrounding Lord here, who's quite low on HP and doesn't have his team just yet to back him up. So he's in a bit of a tough spot, going to get the rotate on. Lala maybe looking to push, but not going to overextend. So a good choice is not going to expose to the rest of the BBC team, but it definitely looked like these teams are looking for some action. They're looking to see if they can, find a crack in the defenses.
Yeah, and of course now Gun going to be looking to find a crack in the defenses there of the side of Young Thunder. See, of course, now sharing the space with him up in towards Pachinki, but Scincerity now having a slight bit of a tough rotation there, as we see, of course, BBC taking aim on towards them, and now their numbers are starting to look a little bit tough, as, of course, now we have Scincerity looking to still secure a good rotation back up in towards zone, but BBC looking to hold on to their position right there on the edge. But now the shots are finding their way on through, as we can see the kill feed starting to light up, but Gun looking to secure up in towards Pachinki. They're looking to fortify this angle, as we can see, of course, they still have their numbers up, and they've already been able to put a little bit of a hurt into the side there of Young Thunder. But now comes the question, right? If that zone moves up and the teams are forced to rotate out of this, which team will be the first one to budge? Because if it is Young Thunder, the first team to try and rotate out of here, Gun will just absolutely obliterate them. They're going to be finding themselves in an absolutely beautiful setup. Whereas if it goes the other way, Gun seems to potentially have a good exit strategy from here. But regardless of what that zone brings, still looking to see what the teams are going to be doing with the positional play up in towards Pachinki. But now, as we hop onto Flacco, we can see just slowly bleeding out the side there of the natural killers. Looking to apply that pressure, looking for that opening, that weakness, as they've already now tasted blood. Still has the full squad left, but they also still need to rotate up in towards the zone.
Yeah, G3 and the Natural Killers both in the exact same spot in terms of being very much on the outskirts of the playable area. And that blue zone's going to be moving in very, very soon, so they do have to get themselves busy, get themselves rotated, and Natural Killers have to do the same, and it will look like they will start to do that. In the meantime, Ultra 6 engaging with UAE. And of course, that is going the way of UAE, our very, very strong team so far, leading the pack in both, sort of strongest players and in terms of performance at the moment. Ultra 6 trying to return the fire, does actually get in some, not. Gun is now pulling on up to the fight, of course. Comfy Cartel moving in here. We've got Ultra 6 right across from them. So this is a little bit of a triangle fight. Very close quarters. Wizard Tower is now occupied by Comfy Cartel, putting those VSS shots straight across the smokers pop of Ultra 6. And UAE just occupying a little bit of a fortification here. They got the sandbags. They got a little bit of cover here in this sort of makeshift trench. Some shots going through and some very nice nades getting placed there as well. But they're in a very difficult spot. I mean, they have come very, very close in proximity. Fear now also putting on the pressure. This is the third party that you have to be aware of. This is the problem with being out in the open here. This is the problem of tunnel visioning. There's so many teams in the surrounding area, and they are making it almost impossible to focus on anyone other than everyone at this point. You need to make sure you know exactly what's going on here. Some gun long-range shots coming through. There's the Triangle of Doom is doomed to fail as well, considering there's just way too many angles and not enough cover.
Yeah, and of course, Gun have set themselves up beautifully in this Pachinki region, but now the remainder of teams all are looking to gain their own entry point, their own little point of security there. Of course, the side of Influence Rage looking to push on in and just hold, but now Cartel not looking too comfy with so many weapons just trained on their position as Nerf sends the shots through, picking up Broly in the process. And of course, now we see the addition of G3 coming in just over on towards this western side. But it is going to be an absolute bloodbath as these teams continue to move on through. We also have Rainbow Six Madagascar as well as Not Gaming also sitting on that western front. But now if we look at just a little bit further up, we of course have the side there of Young Thunder still just holding on, looking to make their stand still up in towards Pachinki. And this is an absolutely beautiful zone centering we have. But now the team there from Fear on the opposite end of the Pachinki fields are going to be having quite a bit of a tough time to make it in, depending on where this next zone goes. Of course, BBC looking to secure their position as well up in towards that northeastern side rather. The Drogons also in the mix there. And this is where things are going to get interesting. Of course, we've got so many teams in really interesting positions, and it could be quite favorable positions. But now it comes down to the point where we look to see how the teams are going to try and play those angles. And are they going to try and, potentially maybe fortify them or capitalize on that?
Yeah, that's the question. I mean, as the area gets reduced, we're going to have a lot of fighting up and down very, very high cover areas. It's very concentrated with buildings and cover to use. And they're going to have to fight their way up because the majority of the one half of that actual complex is there inside the zone. Now, up come the Young Thundercats. They try to make their advance. The Drogons are trying to hold them off for the time being. Of course, the rotates do have to come through because that zone's just behind them. So they've got to get over that line. Of course, the zone will be moving in about 15 seconds, so they have a tiny bit of time, a little bit of a gap. Potato puts the shots into towards Hensley. He does go down. Thirst comes through immediately. You can see Young Thundercats now under some pressure because they do have a couple of teams just off to the side of them, but they are going to be able to handle it. Adonis just instantly putting those shots in, giving his team a little bit of breathing room to take down the rest of the Drogons. You can see some shots from the Mini 14 making UAE's life difficult. Superior going to get that loot as well. Lots of fighting happening towards the perimeter of the zone. You can see their Comfy Cartel in the distance, also needing to move just a little bit. Lots of teams still need to make it across that line, but it's not going to be easy off to the left-hand side of the screen. Of course, you can see the Drogons still taking it out, duking it out with the Young Thundercats. Illusion just off to the side, not able to help his team with the fight against the Drogons. Just has to make sure sure that nobody else comes into the way. BBC getting hammered there. Pluto makes sure he puts the shots in towards Lord, which is definitely not what we expect out of Lord, the man with I think it was number 2 or number 1 title in our most impactful players at the time being Tigris, just gonna fall into the void of doom. Lots of shots coming into Illusion. No return fire, just instantly gets dropped. Young Thundercats now trying to take residence up in this building to keep themselves safe for the time being. But there is no safety here for any of these teams. You can see tons and tons of teams have so many players that have been down. So many players have been dropped. Everyone needs to scramble into safety, but all of the buildings are occupied. There are so many crosshairs concentrated in this region. It's absolutely nuts.
It is pure brutality, Patch. As you can see, of course, the teams now all fighting for a position up in towards Pachinki. And this zone has been absolutely relentless. Now, of course, the Immortals are looking to pick up a few hits on towards the open field. But Fear fighting out in the open position. They're looking to secure themselves if that zone does shift into the field. But now, looking at Pachinki itself, it is going to be absolutely bloodbath as the teams now look to make a stand. And of course the Drogons positioned all the way on that far eastern side, still now starting to push on in, but Young Thunder trying to put up the defensive play. The Drogons now getting caught by the blue zone as that blue zone is closing on up. The Immortals, Python just patiently focusing down over on towards the field as that zone shifts up once again on towards the northwestern side. So this is where position is going to be absolutely essential for these teams. And I'm curious to see who's going to be the first team to try and push on out of this position. As of course, now we have the Immortals, finding themselves up on towards the north of that zone. And down below, it is just insane with the amount of teams. Still have 12 teams, 35 players remaining, and they're all in such close proximity. Of course, the nades are going to be starting to fly back and forth as the teams are looking to squeeze themselves back up in towards that zone.
Yeah, indeed, that zone just getting a whole lot smaller, and these teams now falling victim to the mistake of not getting super aggressive in the earlier games. Now we're in zone 6, we're deep as any zone could be, and these teams are just absolutely smack dab in the middle of one another. They're absolutely jammed together. Crosshairs all over the place. Gunner, of course, mini 14 shots in towards Chris, doesn't have much of a chance there. Of course, the Thirst coming through as well. Fear on the back line, no cover, they just have to move on up. Seller looking for some shots as the teams are on the approach, but everyone's so close in proximity, they have to stick close to these houses. Gun trying to move up, gets taken down. Nerf hits the ground. The rest of the gun has to come on up and assist him. The shots from Pounds going to be enough to get some damage done. But man, oh man, this is looking tough. I don't know if these teams are going to be able to make it here. Look at this absolute nightmare to try and deal with here. Natural Killers coming up on the Rainbow Six. We got the Young Thundercats up against Gun. We've got BBC just moving in Law by his lonesome. We've got Scincerity going up against G3. G3, of course, putting the shots in towards Fear and everyone else. It is just absolute panic at the disco party that is PUBG happening right here in the midst of all of the smokes being popped. All of the tactics going out the window, everyone just running and gunning it, and that is all that they can hope for right now. 8 teams remaining, 19 players left, everyone still trying to fight for their lives.
Oh, I mean, we've been going from 12 teams down to 8 teams in an absolute bloodbath of action, but now, of course, the side of G3 looking to hold on, but up top, above ground, BBC looking to push on inbounds, and aimbot, of course, right there on the side. Natural Killers now sitting on a 3-man team, and of course, the side of Not Gaming potentially being reduced down to only 2, as we can see Zeus now taking position up on the roof in anticipation for that field play. But of course, now fortunately, Zeus looking to secure the res on towards Jagger. Now with the Immortals still holding that northern position. They are in the clear with the remainder of the teams all separated down below. Now, of course, they should be looking to push further back up in towards the zone. As we can see, that zone just shifting down into the south. So no, the tables might actually be turned, but the Immortals say not yet as they put their heads on towards Zeus. Jagger now make a quick little bit of a retaliation, a little bit of a stand, but it is not enough as the Immortals are fighting their way in towards that zone, looking to set up themselves in towards the next phase. But of course, with 5 teams remaining, it is going to be absolutely crazy to try and pull that off as the teams now look to push even further in. Natural Killers looking strong still. Gun sitting on 2 players, and of course Scincerity also with their 2 players. So quite a bit of fighting still left to come as the Immortalz are just now taking occupation of the building over on that western side of the zone. A really good call for them there, but of course now they're looking to improve on that as they are starting to scatter themselves just a little bit further throughout the compounds. But of course, now the Natural Killers on the edge of zone. It's going to be a tough play either way.
Yeah, it certainly is. 5 teams remaining, very close in proximity to one another, but plenty of cover to be jumping around and staying alive. In G3, of course, very low in terms of player count and HP. Jeff almost spotting him out and taking him down there. So close to death, but Bjorn might just be in a bit of a tough spot as the Immortalz are encroaching slowly right up, bit by bit. Natural Kid is still, of course, control of this house here in the compound across from Gun, who are very much backed into a corner, as well as Scincerity. 2 players each for them. The Natural Killers having a little bit of player advantage. Roshi moving on up, looking to challenge up towards Gun. The Immortalz still very serious control of this portion of the zone at the moment, which is quite huge for them. They've got a nice wide net to catch all of those spicy kills, if it, of course, comes their way. Are going to be putting a little bit of suppressive fire down in towards the direction of Natural Killers. Just trying to keep them on their toes here. But somebody's going to have to slip up sooner or later. And indeed, Python going to find that shot straight in to Sella. Makes sure to nail that one immediately. You got to hit those as quickly as possible. And indeed, he makes sure he lines it up, puts it in. Damage done to Natural Killers. It's going to put them on the back foot for a little while as they get the res through, the heals back on up before they have to move through in towards the zone, which is about to get just a little bit smaller. 30 seconds left before that happens. We're 8 zones deep already. Still 5 teams left. That is quite a considerable number considering the size of the zone. But, you know, if you take into consideration the fact that we are sitting in quite a few buildings, it makes sense that these teams have been able to stay alive for so long. But now they're playing that long game. They're playing the hide and go seek game where you wait, bide your time and hope the zone favors you. And if it doesn't, well, you better be ready to absolutely book it to the other side and hope that you can make those shots. For the moment, Immortalz with pretty good control here. They've got the numbers. They've got the advantage for the time being. Jeff a little bit low on HP, though. The shot's coming through. Bearden makes a break for it. Isn't going to work out. Has to take the chance, but unfortunately, Python quicker on the trigger than G3 can take the sprint. So we're now down to 4 teams. Immortalz looking in towards Natural Killers. Spotted Shroud off towards the top of that roof. Puts the shots in, but doesn't get them in time. Jeff goes down immediately. Now caught in this corner. Can't really rotate out. And the rest of the team has to move in. Darkness very low on HP. And of course, Python means that he has to get up and do something. Scincerity still holding off on the corner here. And they have managed to stay alive at the time being. How long is it going to last? The Respect instantly swings out, gets a nice shot, and the Thirst comes through as well. 2 teams remaining, Scincerity and Immortalz, as the Natural Killers get taken down and out of the picture. See if Immortalz are going to be able to leverage this one. They're just juicing their HP bars back up, but they've certainly got the numbers to make it happen. The question is, does Scincerity have the ability to outplay this one?
It is going to be absolutely brutal. I mean, the zone has been insane all the way through, but the Immortalz holding their own and looking to push on towards the players now remaining there from the side of Scincerity, as we've got Respect and a Rogue Baby just holding on the opposite end, and there's only one building in between these 2 teams. But of course, now that blue zone is starting to close on up. They're gonna have to try and push on. But now Respect putting the shots up in towards Python, putting the Immortalz there in a little tougher. But now, here we go. This is where we see 2 teams about to go head to head. The Utils now getting sent on over. Rogue cooking up those nades, getting ready to send them in. Now a little bit of an aggressive push. The Immortalz having quite a bit of their health already reduced, making it so much easier for the side of Scincerity to swoop in and claim that chicken dinner. But of course, the Immortalz don't want that to happen. They're going to try and hold this fight as long as they possibly can, with Rogue now just quickly watching the windows. Respect also now just moving their way through. And this is where I would expect the side of Scincerity to hold that angle on the roof, because they've got a beautiful high ground position. But now we can see, of course, Scincerity looking to push on in as Darkness gets taken out. Oh, Respect puts the hits on it. And it is up to Python to make the final stand, the final rush for the side of the Immortalz. Will they be able to clutch this chicken and get that done with absolute fashion? Of course, Scincerity looking to bring their score up on to 7 kills. Already we see the side of the Immortalz sitting on 7 kills themselves, but this is where it all comes down to as Python comes out, but it is not enough. Scincerity clutches it away. 7 kills under the belt, and what a play that was.
What an absolutely phenomenal deconstruction. That was such a good play coming out from Scincerity. You cannot take that away from them. They played that exactly how they needed to play that. Moving out, put the pressure on, so much damage done. Those nades coming in, super handy. And then all they had to do is just make sure they didn't throw it away. And they did not throw it away. They took the advantages they got given. The Immortalz actually did a good job in not overexposing themselves once they had the back foot. But Scincerity, they didn't care. They just moved straight to the top. Respect and Rogue Baby just making sure they get the angle. They had everything going for them. They nailed it down. They secured that chicken dinner. And, well, that was a play. What a play to end things off for the game number 1.
Chicken dinner to secured for Scincerity Esports. The high ground coming into play. And I you know, when I saw the numbers and I saw 3-on-2, I was like, you know what, Immortalz have this in the bag. But obviously, Scincerity Esports finding that building, taking that high ground, and using it to their advantage, and taking the winner chicken dinner. That was some amazing gameplay. The action, as we said, was fever pitch. Let's take a look very quickly at what the standings look like after the first game in this matchup of Group A against Group B. This is super exciting. Let's see.
Yeah, Scincerity, of course, taking that chicken dinner, getting 7 kills for a total of 22. Gun, unsurprisingly, getting that second place with 10 placements and 10 kills apiece, which is a total of 20 points there. The Immortalz coming in third with their second place plus the 7 kills. Natural Killers also going to be making their show up here with a total of 15. G3 as well coming in fifth with 10. So definitely good to see them back up towards the top side. But, I mean, once again, we're not seeing Undisputed AE taking a chicken dinner. Instead, it's Scincerity sitting up there. And, talk about consistency. I think we're going to see a lot of other teams consistently start to step it up, of course, moving into the second page. We've got the rest of the teams who did manage to put a couple of points in here and there. But ultimately, I think moving forward into the next 2 games, I'm not sure if we could say who is going to be able to take them, because right now we've seen, teams stepping it up each in turn, one by one, just another team stepping it up, making something happen.
And that is excitement. And let's look at this. It is Respect with the MVP of the game. 5 kills, 459 damage, and a survival time of 29 minutes and 1 second. That was some amazing gameplay in Game 4, which is our first match of the night on Erangel in the Umzansi Esports League Season 3. This is the semi-final round, and the action is just starting. We're going to have another 2 matches coming up very shortly, but we will be right back after this break to bring you some more action in the PUBG Mobile Tournament. It is Dr. Sid and DK and, of course, Patchy. We'll see you right back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Umzansi Esports League Season 3 brought to you by Nodwin Gaming, the PUBG Mobile segment. And we have had some fireworks in the first match. Looking forward to some more fireworks. My name is Dr. Sid here with DK and Patchy. But let's take a very quick look at the previous standings from Game 4, Group A versus Group B.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting one for those who missed it. Definitely an interesting final ending to that map. It's, of course, Scincerity coming out on top there with an insane clutch coming through. Very clean clutch coming through for them. Of course, Gun heading up that second place, and Immortalz coming then in third. Natural Killers in fourth, G3 in fifth. And then we've got Not Gaming in sixth, Fear in seven, and Undisputed AE in eight. So we are seeing some of those names moving themselves up just a little bit. I'm sure that will help their points quite a bit. It'll be interesting to see what the final standings look like after all three of these games. Of course, moving on to the second page, we've got BBC up in 9, Young Thundercats in 10, Influence Rage in 11, Rainbow Six in 12, Comfy Cartel in 13, NFxUnique in 14, Drogons in 15, and Ultra 6 in 16. So, maybe some of the teams not finding the performance that they were wanting at the very least. But here are your kill leaders in any case. It's going to be a Potato from Undisputed AE, Pounds from Gun. We've got Lord from BBC, and of course, Mercury coming in from Influence Rage. 16, 15, 14, and 13 kills respectively. Nice and in line in order. You can see those damage numbers looking pretty spicy, especially 3,100 coming out from Pounds there. So Gun looking to put some serious damage down.
Yeah, and you can look at the amount of damage he's putting in, shows what he brings to the team and how effective he is at getting those points for their players. We are almost ready to go live. The plane is ready. The next map is, of course, Sandhawk, which we have known is popular for its close nature and of course the close quarter fights. DK, we've seen a lot of teams come out and show that they're kings of the close quarter battle, but in this round that we're in, we have seen a lot of unpredictability, but do we expect to see something more traditional, or do we expect to see some unpredictable team just come in and swoop with all the kills?
It's up in the air if I'm being honest. It could swing still either which way. We could see the traditional teams bringing in the dominance and bringing in the gameplay. I mean, if we look back at just what we saw in the first match now, comparing it to last week. Last week we had, of course, the Immortalz and Scincerity finishing in second and third place. And, of course, this week, once again, they were in that top three. So if we look to last week's Sandhawk, things could be interesting with UAE, Influence Rage, and of course Ultra 6 taking the top three, with Guns sitting up in fourth place. So it is going to be interesting, of course, now to watch these teams.
Well, let's watch the teams as they all take flight out of the plane to their various landing spots on the map, Sandhawk. My name is Dr. Sid, and I'll see you guys after the match. Take it away, boys.
Hi, thank you very much, Dr. Sid. It's map number 2 that we're moving into. It is, of course, Sandhawk. It's that CQC action as per usual. The team's heading in with a nice flight path up there from north to south. Nothing too crazy. The teams will be able to get into the action nice and quickly. The only question is, are they going to do it? We saw a little bit of a slower start in the previous match. Not as quick as it was last week in any case, but the teams are at least still looking for engagements. The question is, are they going to be able to find them and follow through? Because in that previous game that we had, it was a very, very tough time towards the end in those last couple of zones, because so many teams were just jammed up into the same compound. Straight off the bat, it looks like we're going to have Superior from the Young Thundercats moving straight in. Going to be doing some nice damage with that Vector, making sure to get the Thirst in as well. So a little bit of action right off the bat, but I'm not too sure where the rest of the Young Thundercats team is, so Superior just a little bit isolated for the time being. You can see they're sort of spread out across the compound. Fear and Influence Rage both ahead of them, so it looks like we might just be getting into some action relatively quickly.
This is definitely going to be an interesting engagement to see what is going to be going down here in boot camp, as we have the side of Influence Rage position on the eastern front, Fear taking occupation of the main, and then Young Thunder splitting themselves up and actually starting to surround these two other opposing teams. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see whether or not Young Thunder will be able to pick them off, as Sphere could now potentially start focusing their intentions onto the side there of, you know, the players coming in from Influence Rage. So, it's going to be like that triangle of doom that you were talking about, you know, in the previous match. It could go either which way, and of course the team to just outplay the opponents will be the one to, you know, just reap the benefits of that. And at this point, it is going to be so difficult to figure out which one of these three teams will be the one to outplay and outlast, you know, the other two.
Yeah, and it's going to be tough because they haven't exactly had the most time or space to loot up. Some teams, you know, they've got a little bit of something. They've got a helmet, they've got some armor, some have armor, some don't have any. So it is really just going to be a case of how do these teams manage this situation? Because, you know, there is, of course, the option of, all right, we can get some shots in to try to take the damage. Illusion going to be doing so much damage there as the team comes straight over the wall and just gets immediately nailed. And, you know, that's... That's all you could say about that. Straight up, we're down to two teams in the compound. It's Young Thundercats and it's Fear, who are now in the center, and they've got some decent control there. And now it's going to be a case of, do they decide to pull out? Young Thundercats can leave the situation alone, but then, of course, they will forfeit the 4 potential kills in the squad wipe that they could pick up here. So now they have to make a decision. Are they going to go for it? Are they just going to sit and chill for the time being and wait and see if something happens? Or are they going to make something happen? We'll see. We'll wait. And, well, yeah, I don't know what else we'll see, but that was quite an end to the team. Like, everyone's just jumping out the window, and suddenly you just get completely nailed straight as you jump out one by one.
I gotta give it to Young Thunder, though. I mean, last week when we saw them on Sanok, they got sent back in 14th place, right? Only managing to find that 1 kill. Already now, yes, well, there is still that potential for them to get sent back early, but they have managed to secure 4 kills. So already off to a much better start in comparison to what we saw in the last week's Sanok's performance, you know, in the Group A versus B section. So already going to be looking to see now whether or not they'll be able to pick up that momentum and continue forward with it, as we still have the side there of NFxUnique now holding over towards that eastern front. Now, as we see, Young Thunder looking to push in. Fear, they do have a good position up in towards the mid, but will they be able to hold on, as it seems like Young Thunder is out to prove a point?
Yeah, well, maybe we'll just have to wait and see. For now, Young Thundercats are right up here, keeping a watchful eye out on the team from Fear, just up ahead of them. They have been slowly encroaching into their space, slowly moving up, looking for that opening, looking for that gap A-bomb, looking to see if you can put a little bit of suppressing fire down there, catch anyone out. No one's going to get caught out by it, but definitely, as per usual, that intention is there. It just has to be converted. Speaking of conversions, Comfy Cartel going to convert a little bit of damage, and A-bomb taking a lot of unexpected damage indeed. That's the Immortalz who put those in. Of course, NF up on the top of that hill is going to be under a little bit of fire, as well as Illusion spots them out and starts putting the shots in. And that's the danger of being where they are and not being able to force in to Fear and take them down, is the fact that, well, now you're open to some of these surrounding angles. And we did see that get capitalized on just a little bit. Hulk now moving up to get that first in, and he will find it indeed. Hulk just picks that one up, going to capitalize on that unfortunate positioning coming out there with the third-party shots coming through. You can see G3 off in the distance as well, and NFxUnique up on the hill, and of course the Immortalz off on the one side, putting a couple of shots across and making things difficult for the Young Thundercats. They weren't able to pull the trigger in time, and they have unfortunately exposed themselves just a little bit. And like you mentioned, you know, the possibility of going out early is there. It's looming over their heads, and they don't want it to happen again. But they're going to have to put the work in to stop that from happening, because right now they are very much surrounded by quite a number of other teams. They have to make sure they don't get taken down, they don't make a mistake, they don't get punished, because any bad moves here, any mistakes could end up going really, really badly for them.
But I'm liking the play that we're seeing across the board. I mean, so many teams now moving in closer towards bootcamp. This is really turning out to be quite the point of contention for a lot of these teams, as they know, you know, from past matches, that they're is at times quite a bit of aggression happening over in towards bootcamp, and it's interesting to see everyone now just starting to look, as we did see, of course, we've got the side of the Immortalz, we have G3, we have the players from NFxUnique all positioned just on the outskirts of bootcamp. Now, there's quite a bit of pressure then on the side of Fear and, of course, Young Thunder. Because not only are they going up against each other, but there is still that threat coming in from the outlying region. So they got to be super, super careful with how they play this. And if they, you know, just make that one little slip up, they are going to be punished, you know, for that mistake by so many teams in the vicinity.
Yeah, indeed, that is the case. Young Thundercats, as you can see, just a little bit split up. Superior on the one side with Illusion and Ungodly on the other. But at least they have a couple of angles to keep a watchful eye out on. Fear, they're just going to be bailing straight out of there, moving in across the compound, and we'll see if they get caught out or if they're going to find themselves at least a little bit of damage in here. You can see they're not getting overly crazy. I mean, you can see barely any movements here from some of these teams. They're just waiting, just keeping their eyes open, not exposing themselves, not just getting overly aggressive. They're making sure that they don't get taken out, but something's got to budge at some point. Now, of course, you can see that blue zone is moving in as we move in towards zone number 2. Hulk getting a little bit of damage there. He's going to be able to jump inside the house and escape from that for the time being. But Fear are definitely moving up on the Young Thundercats. Finally have made the decision to make it happen. They have to be careful, though, because, of course, as we mentioned, lots of angles are being held by some other teams in the vicinity. So they've got to make sure they push in on this one, and they do it solidly, do it well. Shots coming in from Comfy Cartel, putting damage in towards NFxUnique, as Fear now taking control of the building just across from the Young Thundercats. A little bit of low HP on Illusion. Might just make it a little bit easier for Fear to push through and get those kills, get those thirsts. Chris, Hulk, and King very far up, leading the charge, putting some damage through, but Illusion going to find them first. Takes the hits in towards Hulk and takes him down to the ground. Going to make things a little bit easier for the Young Thundercats to hold on for just that much longer, but there come the third-party shots again. Young Thundercats getting caught out. That's not where you want to be, especially after holding off the Fear attack for the time being. You don't want to get taken out from behind. You've got to make sure you put up the defense, and, well, it looks like they're not going to be able to hold out for much longer, because if Fear even decides to push, it might be difficult for them. But there's so many teams in the surrounding vicinity that if they try and push through now, they're going to lose a lot of HP.
Yeah, that's why I said, you know, it's going to be absolutely essential for Young Thunder and Fear to be very aware of their positioning and, of course, also their angles, as we did see Illusion, being punished by that on the side of course, the Immortalz. But now Fear looking to capitalize on this moment of weakness, striking into the side of Young Thunder, sending the Baner right on through. Chris finding a quick exchange there, but now it is up to what is left of Young Thunder as the team from Fear move in fearlessly, just wiping them out. Superior now left to make a play, but of course, still not out of the woods. We do have NFxUnique just positioned down to the south, up on it towards the hill, but there is a good bit of distance now between the team of Fear and Superior. So if he's able to find that opening, find that gap, and potentially rotate out of bootcamp, that would be a good call, and that's what I would kind of be expecting to see coming in from the Young Thunder side. But now, of course, G3 just holding on to that edge. The Immortalz also, as we saw, sitting on towards that western front, and it's going to be interesting to see how they are going to try and look to play this one. Will we see them looking to converge or, down on towards bootcamp as we have the shots come in now, but it is still quite a ranged attack.
Yeah, it certainly is. G3 coming in and putting in some pressure here towards Fear, who have just come up with a successful attack on towards the Young Thundercats. Now they have a lot more to deal with, considering they've also got a couple of stragglers on the back end to worry about. Now G3 is moving through, which definitely sets off a couple of alarm bells. Now they are taking up residence here in the warehouses just across from the compound, but that's definitely nothing to scoff at, because G3 could definitely put those long-range shots in, so you have to be super careful about that. I think there might be a team on the opposite side on towards the hill as well, so definitely have to keep an eye out for that as well, if that is true. Yeah, Superior not in the greatest position there. He just has to snake it out and maybe try and rotate out, as you mentioned, try and get himself out of the situation for the time being, though that zone has moved on up just a little bit. 3 seconds until it starts to close in. Move in towards zone 3. These teams having a little bit of time to get up into the zone once again, make themselves comfortable, and prepare for some more pushes. Unfortunately, no more action happening across the map, mostly just the rotates, but hopefully something happens off the back of that. G3 taking up control of the cliffside here towards the water's edge on the other side of the landmass. Of course, here we've got NFxUnique looking over in it towards the comfy Cartel just across the way. So definitely there's a little bit of attention, a little bit of standoff here and there, but we haven't seen any fights happening outright just yet.
Well, definitely quite a few interesting angles still to come, you know, as we, of course, now look in towards Binachi. And, I mean, this is where we want to see what stand the teams can make. How they're going to hold on to these angles. But, of course, I'm also curious to see what the rest of the zone looks like. Where we have those teams situated and positioned. Because so far, we've been only looking towards bootcamp, and what has been unfolding there is we can see, of course, in the kill feed, Fear putting the shot straight on in, but now the zone itself, right? We've got the Immortalz positioned a little bit further up on towards that coastline, and the Drogons, of course, positioned all the way up on towards the northwestern island, as well as the side there of Not Gaming. So definitely going to be looking to see how the teams are going to be looking to rotate down in towards the zone and which angles they'd then be looking at securing while coming in with those rotations. But by none for now, it is a bit of a crossway, a passageway for teams to get in between the two different islands. So I'm not surprised to see teams looking to fortify this and set themselves up, gatekeeping potential teams that might want to try and cross on through. But now G3 just advancing themselves, wrapping around the coastline, coming in with those angles onto the side of Fear. So things now starting to look up for the side of G3, but of course we're looking to see whether or not they can still make that comeback. They had a pretty tough match in the first one, of course, on Erangel. Now, could it possibly be Sanhok, in which we see them step it up?
It might just be. It might certainly just be for the time being, though. We're keeping an eye on Fear, who are very much still under pressure for the time being, as G3 have made that rotate through, and they have taken up control here, still towards the edge of the coastline. And they are moving up in it towards NFxUnique, who is getting pinched just behind as well. Fear moving up into that position. So they've got to be super careful about that. There's a lot of teams concentrating around those areas where they think they'll be able to pick up some kills and put on the most amount of pressure. Flecko has been looking for these long-range shots, has really been trying to find them, but all those hills and trees in the way, not going to be able to get a very easy shot, or at least not a clean one. We'll see if he can still make it. He is definitely keen to find one, I think, having been pent up at this point to try and put those hits in. You know, you got to get all of that lack of time out now, and he's looking for it, but hasn't been able to find anything just yet. 6 going for a swim. You know, you got to make sure you get cool. You know, go for a dip in the pool when things get a little bit hot. Although, speaking of that, you know, I don't think anyone down here is feeling all that hot. It's quite cold where I am. I'm very cold, so. You know, definitely not a good idea to jump in the water for me. But, you know, Sanhok looks pretty hot and sweaty. So we'll see. They, you know, just take a little bit of a cool bath up in there. We'll see Bearden trying to put the shots in it towards NFxUnique, using the wall as a cover. Is in a pretty good position. Could catch a couple of them out as they are moving backwards and forwards outside that house, just dancing on the edge of the zone. G3 need to get over this line. And for that, to be able to do that, they need to take out some of those players. It's going to be a little bit of a tough one because they have to share the compound with a couple of teams in the same vicinity. So they're going to make their way around to get in there. But, yeah, they're going to have to take a fight at some stage because there's a couple of teams in this area.
Yeah, there is quite a few teams also still remaining on the map as a whole. I mean, we're still sitting on 14 teams and 53 players alive. Now, NFxUnique going to be looking to secure the position for the time being, as they are in zone, and we can see the players there from the Comfy Cartel situated just up in front. But it's going to be interesting to see whether or not Comfy Cartel will be stepping up, looking to claim a few more points, because we currently have them sitting down in 22nd place after the 10 matches that we've been seeing so far. And, you know, it is quite a bit of a challenge to try and secure those points, but there is still 14 teams. So there's 13 teams for them to go up against. So quite a bit of potential points still up for grabs here. And I mean, this is where the teams are looking to dial up their aggression. It is Sanhok. It is the map that lends itself to the aggression, and it is also that opportunity where teams can come in, bringing in a few extra points, which they could potentially have missed out on the Erangel match, or even potentially, you know, on Miramar in past games. So, going to be looking to see what they do, and of course, Scincerity, we've seen a really strong performance from them already in the first match. So far, holding the position there. They have set themselves up in center zone, but as we now look to the blue zone that is about to close on up, we should then see that next phase popping in, and it heads even further down towards the south. So a few teams already secured within the zone, but this is where it gets quite challenging, especially for the side of the Drogons, the side of Not Gaming, the Immortalz, Comfy Cartel, G3, as well as the players there from NF and also Fear. I mean, the Natural Killers, they are looking pretty cozy on the eastern side. Yes, they're not in zone just yet, but they don't have to worry about a crazy rotation. They can just slowly inch their way on in. We're interested to see, of course, what the teams on the outlying regions are going to try and do and how they're going to try and squeeze themselves back up in towards that zone and potentially secure an angle, set up an anchor point for the coming few phases.
Yeah, and G3 certainly doing the work at the moment, putting the shots in. NF getting hammered by the Cartel as well as G3 here. You can see moving up, they've lost a lot of players. Terry and Zist have both hit the floor. G3 on the approach, still haven't lost anything. These guys certainly have been proven their prowess in terms of, yeah, we can take the fights, but we can also just move around the map, keep acting, and make sure we don't get taken down. Cartel looking for some of those shots, but did only find the initial one in towards Zist. We'll see if they can find a couple of more. Cartel getting taken a little bit of damage as well. Scincerity now moving through the victors of the previous game, although not finding any ground to move on just yet, as they have taken a little bit of damage. They're still in this one for the time being. The shots coming through G3. Bearden did find some hits in towards True. So, yeah, there is some fighting happening, and they're certainly going to have to make it happen because they need to make the rotate in towards the zone. And this is what happens when you don't take teams out early. This is what happens when you don't find what you're looking for in the early game. You lose out on a lot of the time, and then you're put in this position where you're pressured to try and get in the zone, and there's so many teams to try and take care of. You have to move in, you have to take some fights, you have to get the kills and wipe the team out in order to move in and even to give yourself a shot at trying to get into the zone, which is most likely also going to be barred by a little bit of gatekeeping as well. So it's really, really tough to make this happen. The shots are coming through. Fear putting them in towards NFxUnique, also returning the fire in towards them. Hulk hits the floor. Me goes down as well. It's just fires off those shots all across. We still have 14 teams and 46 players left. It's absolutely nuts that these numbers are still surviving, but indeed these teams are still here and they're still fighting.
I mean, Scincerity, they've set themselves up beautifully for the chaos that is to come. But of course, this is kind of the pattern that we've seen. If a team is able to set themselves up in the zone, waiting for the remainder of the lobby to, of course, try and rotate in towards that position, they really benefit from that. And that is what Scincerity is going to be looking to do here, as they are now picking off the teams and the players they can spot. We've got Cartel up ahead. We've got the side there, of course, of Not Gaming looking to push in, as well as the side there of Cartel and G3 just positioned out in the distance. But this is where we see that zone now moving once again. Unfortunately, not shifting in favor of Scincerity, so they now need to get their butts back up in towards zone. They've only got 30 seconds on the clock, and things could potentially get pretty hairy as we have the side of UAE just a little bit further down south. G3, of course, now feeling the pressure as they are exposed, and Scincerity is capitalizing on that.
Yeah, doing a really good job at making sure to pick up those kills, pick up on those mistakes, which is super, super important. They've definitely been rising to the occasion, which is good to see. We'll see how long they can keep it up for. G3 all the way down to one member, Flaco, the last hope for them. And indeed, the man with the plan, as it were, as the rest of the team seems to have faded away. We've got Scincerity now moving in. The victors of the previous match certainly coming through and showing that they have something to offer here on map number 2. Shots coming through from BBC as they put in towards the Immortalz. You can see things now very, very tough due to that. Blue zone moving in. Teams are losing that HP. They are downing fast. 27 players left alive. 11 teams remaining here. Those numbers dropping super quick. Everyone's starting to rotate, move on up, and just try and squeeze themselves into what is a very small zone at this point. 5 zones deep. for the time being. Matrix trying to find if he could find anything. Law prepping that grenade, trying to put them in towards Gun, who's very low on HP. Could be really big if it gets it, but the shots come through immediately. Flaker goes down to no brain as Law puts hits in towards Nerf Me, who does hit the ground for the time being. 9 teams remaining there. Potato still looking for some shots in towards Scincerity. Have been scattered a little bit, but are going to find those shots. They will find the hits in as they move through and try and claim themselves a space inside that zone, but the third party is proving to be a little bit too much to handle. Losing players left and right side. Going to go down Muffin very soon to follow, low on HP. Such a difficult spot, and that is just the name of the game. That is the tough part of these rotations coming through. Getting knocked out left, right, and center. BBC doing their due diligence here. A team that has proven themselves very capable in recent times. Just moving up to try and get themselves a bit by bit forward. Moving forward with each step here. Of course, you can see that play zone doing what it does, claiming its victims one by one. 6 teams remaining here, 14 teams left. We've got 10 seconds before that zone moves in once again, and it is looking very, very small here. These teams are going to have to be quite worried about what happens next, because they're going to start running out of space, and they're going to start running out of cover real soon.
Yeah, things are going to get pretty hairy. Now UAE looking to bring in the dominating play as they have set themselves up beautifully on the northern edge of that zone. And of course, now absolute chaos erupting a little bit further down from there. As you can see, of course, Natural Killers meeting their end as Ultra 6 steps on up, puts their hits on through. But of course, now having Lynx and Miyagi getting knocked out in the process. We still now, well, we are now left with only 4 teams remaining, 11 players still alive. And UAE going to be looking to capitalize on their position within the zone. BBC, as you can see, of course, now trying to make a play down in from the south. Rainbow Six, Madagascar also yet to find an entry point in towards the zone. But this is where things are going to get so tough as Ultra 6 are looking to hold on and dominate their edge of the zone. Of course, now we've been reduced down to only 3 teams. Ultra 6 taking quite a bit of damage, but BBC on a bit of a back foot. As you can see, Lord now getting knocked out. Nihal still out in the blue. It's going to be a hill off there for Nihal, but of course the blue zone is going to come in at blazing speed, blazing amounts of damage. Ultra 6 and UAE now the 2 teams to face off for that chicken dinner. They have the controlling positions within the zone. Ultra 6 already sitting on 10 kills, so an absolutely phenomenal showing coming in here from them. And this is what I've been talking about, teams having the ability to regain some points right here on Sanok. And of course, the side there of Ultra 6, they just swoop in and jump at the opportunity. Now, up against UAE, we can see, still on all 3 of their remaining players. Now having a beautiful setup within the zone. So they are playing that positional game to the teeth, finding themselves beautifully set up and now looking to just fortify those angles, just hold on long enough so they can pick away at the side of Ultra 6. But of course now Ultra 6 not going to be giving up that easily. As you can see, No Brainer finds the shot up in towards Matrix. They use this opportunity to now move on in as they action. Their heads are flying back and forth. Potato and Pluto left to make that final stand as Lynx and No Brainer come rushing in right on to their doorstep. But Pluto gets taken down. It is up to Potato now. A 1v4 showdown for UAE. But of course, Ultra 6 says no, and they swoop in, grabbing the chicken dinner with both hands and then some, finishing off on an absolutely amazing 13-kill game.
Oh man, that felt like UAE had the chance to be able to win that one. They had the positions, and Pluto actually had such a good angle, but wasn't able to drive it home. And that really just wasn't able to pick up what they were looking for. So it's unfortunate there that they couldn't make that happen, even with their 3-man squad. But of course, it's Ultra 6, a huge number of kills coming in for them. And of course, that chicken dinner going to give them some substantial points. And then, BBC coming in that 3rd place with a decent number of kills as well. And like I said, these guys have been hovering a little bit higher up on the leaderboards than we used to see them, which is quite good to see. Everyone's sort of stepping it up now, making things really that much more competitive here. And the only thing I can say about this game is that probably they waited a little bit too long in the early game. In the beginning there, we had a little bit of a slow movement in terms of the teams getting things done. But of course, that inevitably changed when the amount of teams were just looking absolutely nuts moving into those final few zones.
But I got to give it to the side there of Ultra 6. You know, that was their first chicken dinner in the second round here. Of course, the semi-finals round. So, absolutely phenomenal way to get in on that leaderboard. And, of course, bringing in a chicken dinner with absolute style. Phenomenal plays, but, of course, it is going to be interesting to see what will happen when we move up in towards Miramar, because the teams have been going at it, right? And we've been looking to seeing the performances of last week to give us a kind of an indication to what we could be expecting moving in. So it is going to be pretty tough, but of course, as we look at the standings after the match, we see Ultra 6 sitting up in pole position, 28 points to their name, 13 kills, contributing to the crazy points they bring in. But of course, Undisputed AE still holding up their performance, finishing up in second place on 16 points. BBC securing third place, also then on 16 points. Scincerity holding strong in the top 5 there with 7 kills and 11 total points. Rainbow Six Madagascar coming in on that 5th place, and of course the Natural Killers and Fear both securing themselves a 6-pointer there. Natural Killers and Fear, of course, being in 6th and 7th place, respectively. But G3 having a bit of a tough match once again. Yes, they did get that squad wipe. They only get that 1 placement point, which, of course, brings them up to a grand total there of 5. So far, quite a few teams here having quite a bit of a tough day. As you can see, NFxUnique, Young Thunder securing 4 points. The Immortalz on 3, Not Gaming on 2. And then, of course, Gun, Comfy Cartel, and the Drogons finishing on 1 point apiece, and Influence Rage not getting any points in this last match. But this, of course, kind of what we were expecting to see. You know, teams using the opportunity to step up, to dominate, and bring in those additional points. And one of the players that did exactly that is No Braino from Ultra 6. 8 points alone for the team. Absolutely phenomenal stuff. And of course that means, you know, only 5 points were spread out throughout the rest of the 2 other players that we see managing to find those kills. And of course quite a bit of damage, but a really good kill to damage conversion we got there. So that means that almost all the damage he had caused had been converted into kills. So he missed a very few shots.
Nice. Yeah, that's what we like to see. That's what we like to even expect coming out of players that are doing some good work. And of course, taking that chicken there, it's inevitable to get some very nice and spicy stats like that. But of course, that is the end of game number 2. Game number 3 upcoming is Miramar, which I'm quite keen to get into, because we're seeing different teams taking the pole position here every time, moving up the board. And some teams, as you mentioned, not having too much of a good day. So maybe there's a chance for redemption. But if you want to see, you're going to have to stick around because Miramar is coming up very, very soon. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this.
Hello and welcome back to the Umzansi Esports League, brought to you by Nodwin Gaming. We just came back from our second match, which was absolutely crazy over on towards Sanok. And of course, we've been seeing quite a bit of action coming in from the teams. Now, speaking of which, to remind you of how that match went, we have our overall standings there, of course, for Game 5. Ultra 6 taking pole position on 28 total points, 13 kills to their name. Of course, Undisputed securing themselves that second position with 16. BBC also coming in on 16 points. But then we have the side of Scincerity Esports over in fourth, securing 7 kills, which brings them up onto a total of 11 points for the match. Rainbow Six Madagascar, of course, over in fifth place. They're on 8, and things have been absolutely tough when we look at the Sanok match. Just looking at what we've seen, and of course, if we compare it to what we had in last week's performance, of course, we had Undisputed AE claiming the chicken dinner on Sanok, with Influence Rage coming in second and Ultra 6 finishing a third, but Ultra 6 stepped up and proved themselves in this match, bringing home the chicken dinner. And of course, our kill leaders up to this point, as you can see, of course, we have Potato there from Undisputed. We've got Lord from BBC. We've got Pounds from Gun, rather. And of course, then we've got No Brainer there from Ultra 6. But absolutely insane amount of kills. We see Potato sitting on 18. BBC Lord there on 16. Pounds 15. Of course, No Brainer on 14, but some pretty brutal amounts of damage, as we can see for the side there of Pound and, of course, Potato. So really some interesting plays we've seen. But now, Patchy, as we're prepping to move up in towards Miramar, right, we've seen some interesting rotations come in from the teams, and teams really stepping up, looking to dominate throughout today's games. What are you expecting to see as we move into our final match of today?
Well, I think the gameplay that we've been seeing today specifically seems to be a little bit more cautious. The team's playing a little bit slower, even though the intent to get the aggression is still the intent to take attacks is still there and whatnot, which is good to see. So at least the fighting spirit, the fighting mentality is still in the game, but they're a little bit slower, a little bit more cautious in terms of what's actually going on. And I think that might just play really well into Miramar. It's a little bit of a longer range map. So I think a lot of teams will feel a little bit more safety in terms of what they could pull off. So maybe they'll look to be a little bit more aggressive here, because they could say, all right, well, we're on top of a mountain. Let's just like find the nearest team and shoot them, see what happens. And I hope that's what we find. And of course, as we mentioned, we were asking whether G3 was going to step it up. They did manage to get a little bit higher up on the leaderboard than they did last week. But with Flecker in the lead and maybe being able to bring a little bit of flair back into G3, maybe we'll see them take up dominance on Miramar once again, because, I mean, this is the map that we know them for. They have performed really, historically, they've performed really, really well on this map. So I'm waiting to see if they're going to step it up in that case. But so far, I'm not entirely convinced, because we have seen some other teams stepping it up in some big ways so far.
Yeah, a lot of teams have been bringing it on through. And of course, now as we look on to our flight path, this is where the question comes in, is will we see the consistency that we had in last week's matches, of course, transpire back up again into this Miramar for this week? Because last week, we've had the side of Influence Rage, G3, and Undisputed AE finishing up in the top 3. So what we've been seeing over the previous 2 matches, Erangel and Sanok, is that 2 of the top 3 teams from last week finding themselves back up again in that top 3. So now my question is will it be Influence Rage, G3, or Undisputed AE to step up and potentially claim that chicken dinner? It could even be any of the other teams, but just based on the trend that we've been seeing coming in throughout today's games, based on last week's performances, there is, of course, that potential for Influence, G3, or even on UAE to step in and claim those chicken dinners again. But now the teams are making their way on down, and we wait to see where our first initial phase forms, and it goes all the way up on towards north. So it is going to be quite an interesting zone, as we already have such a huge number of teams already pretty well positioned within the zone. So no major need for them to rotate up. However, we still also then see the side of Scincerity, UAE, and Young Thunder positioned just on the outskirts of the zone. So it is going to be interesting to see how much the zone is going to heat up once the teams start getting a little bit more comfortable and they feel they're already and all looted up, ready to roll. Of course, the team the furthest away from the zone is the side of not gaming. So if they play their rotations well, they could potentially be able to sneak up into zone and find a good position to fortify for the coming phases.
Yeah, they certainly could. I mean, we saw G3 drop it very central in, or very close to central at least, in towards that zone, but they're also surrounded by quite a few other teams, so I'm interested to see if they get into a little bit of a battle there. BBC doing a little bit of motocross tricks up here with their motorbike, just you know, letting it soar off into the distance before hopping back on. They're skirting the perimeter of the zone at the moment. Actually, looks like they're looking for the drop there, which actually might be a bit of a good idea. Yeah, that's waiting for Squeak to just come on in there and pick up some free kills, maybe.
Well, that could be a good strategy, but of course now Sneak just hanging around, looking to see, you know, what would be the best angle to come on into. And of course, BBC losing interest. Very fortunate there for Squeak to be able to secure that position. But now, of course, we wait to see. You know, I'm pretty sure everyone is just about touched down on the map. Now it is a question of where the teams are going to try and position themselves, right? We're looking at the zone. We know that there's no apparent need for them to really rotate up just yet. But this is where the teams now have that opportunity to step up and get aggressive. Go out looking for those engagements, looking for those points, and trying to disrupt, you know, put some teams at a bit of a dis-ease here in their positions.
Yeah, certainly could be, and hopefully we see some engagements opening up. You know, just opened up due to that long range. We've got BBC on the move continuously, still just making their way around. They're hoping not to lose control of their bike once again. No, indeed, it is going to happen. You can't tell how these things are gonna ride, DK. I mean, they're just so I don't know, finicky.
Yeah.
It's like hit a stone and they just go flying.
But luckily, it's nothing like real life bikes. I mean, if it was anything like this, man, yeah, you can just imagine the hospitals being absolutely filled up with people. But fortunately, this is only a game. You know, the teams have a near real life experience, right? Emphasis on near, not like exact. It's a near, you know, real life experience. But now it's going to be interesting to see, aside from the physics on the vehicles here being a little bit out of whack, you know, it's going to be interesting to see where the teams are going to look to move up, because at the current moment we haven't seen much engagements come in just yet. All right, the teams are all just in anticipation of looking to see where that first initial zone is going to be going, how far they all need to rotate up. And I mean, once that zone pops, that is where we'll be seeing, you know, exactly what the teams will be bringing. But I'm expecting the teams to try and get ahead of the blue. If they are not secured within the zone just yet, you know, the ones that we had situated all the way down in towards the south, this would be that opportunity for them to get themselves a bit of a head start, you know, rush up in towards zone. But also, the teams already within the zone, this is where we could see them looking to, you know, try and anticipate where the next shift could be going. Because we've seen on Miramar, you know, the zone doesn't generally shift aggressively. So there is a little bit more of a passive shift to the Miramar zone. So it could, to a certain degree, be kind of predictable. So I'm looking to see exactly how the teams are going to try and anticipate that and plan accordingly.
Yeah, it is a little bit more palatable. You know, you can get yourself relatively in towards the middle of the zone, and then you're pretty much good to go for most of the shifts. We see Lynx taking up a pretty good position up here towards the top of the hill, looking in towards NerfMe, who has been in the crosshair but isn't getting caught out just yet. Going to put himself up in that vehicle and move on out. Maybe we'll see Lynx trying to put those shots across. There it goes. Nerfme should be safe for the time being and escape in it to compound, join up with the rest of his buddies from the team. But indeed, the zone shifts a little bit slower here. This map, of course, being a little bit larger, does play into that. Things take a little bit longer, but with the long range, you know, hopefully that comes into supplement for a little bit of those slower times. Maybe we'll get some longer range fights coming in a bit earlier than usual. And you can already see Nerf is looking for the return fire, looking to try and potentially just pay back his assailants. with a little bit of damage there. Won't find them, but he is alive, and that's basically what counts. Going to regroup with the rest of the team. Gun definitely one of the teams to keep in mind, as they are sitting quite high on that overall leaderboard at the moment. The other one to keep an eye out for, of course, Undisputed AE, as they have had a pretty good pole position. So they're also a team that one should keep in the back of one's mind when they're around. We'll see. Ultra 6 at the moment, they have got themselves a pretty decent spot. No one in immediate contention. And of course, they've got some good control. But, well, Miyagi moving up is actually going to find Pluto potentially looking in his direction.
I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what will come from this potential engagement between the side here of UAE and Ultra 6. We've seen both teams, being able to step up and bring in that dominating play, especially just in the last match. But now again, they're going it toe to toe. It's definitely going to be quite interesting to see how this, of course, then unfolds. But another team I'm pretty curious to see their performance of is the side of Influence Rage Africa. They are currently situated in 3rd place on that leaderboard, and they've been having 2 pretty tough games so far today. But now we see the side here of Ultra 6 finding those shots up in towards Potato. Pluto and Matrix now looking to hold on and defend at this angle. But of course, we've got No Brainer on that far offside with the bolt action in hand. Miyagi and Lynx now looking to apply that pressure from the front line. Mullins just holding that off-angle cover there. The Utils, of course, are getting sent on over. And this could be a match where we see the side of UAE potentially getting sent back to the lobby early.
Yep, it could certainly happen. We've got Matrix trying to find a no-brainer there right at the top of the hill, but trying to fight an uphill battle is indeed what is going on here. Matrix surrounded by enemies on all sides, trying to put those nades up, but really doesn't even know which target to try and take down first. Has to pick each one very, very carefully here. Ultra 6 in a very tight corner right here up against UAE. Who's going to take the win is the question here, because they definitely are looking for it. No Brainer continuing to be a nuisance up on the top of this hill with those long range shots. You can see teams also now congregating in towards the middle of that zone, putting themselves in a pretty good position moving forward. You can see the rest of the teams on the outskirts moving in as well. No Brainer still looking for the long range shots, but nobody pushing over the threshold just yet. At some point they've got to cross that Rubicon, but the question is, who is going to be the first one to do it? Pluto still looking for it. Matrix continuing to put the pressure on, and No Brainer has taken a little bit of damage, but once again, no one has pushed over that rise just yet. It is a difficult choice to make. Lynx now retreating back up the hill, but taking a little bit of damage. The smoke does not block the bullets. No Brainer will get taken down by Potato. Some key shots coming through there. That might just be the encouragement that UAE needed to push over this hill and take the fight. They have a pretty good position here. Lynx now still trying to move up to the top. Miyagi is here, but isn't able to support the team, so he has to keep his focus out towards the rest of the team. He spotted out one, but if UAE come around this corner with all of their members, they might just be able to win this fight. Miyagi now waiting, the shots come through, and they ring true. Matrix will find them, and that should be Thirst coming through for them as well, making it a little bit easier to push through on towards Ultra 6. Are they going to rotate away, though, is the question, as the res does come through there for them. Mullins now, of course, holding a corner. Not really going to be of much use to the rest of the team, but at least they're juicing themselves back up to health. But that definitely did not go the way that Ultra 6 was hoping.
It is going to be still a pretty heated fight between these two teams. There's No Brainer once again taking a little bit of damage. UAE looking to hold on to their claim here. They want to secure themselves, but of course now forcing the side there of Ultra 6 to retaliate, to rather fall back, to start regrouping and potentially maybe just looking to rotate elsewhere. Of course, now as we jump on it towards the side of Gun, you can see them now trying to take aim on towards Cartel, but the shots come straight on through. True finding the hits up in towards Bounds. Now it is up to Plaza, Nerf Me and Aimbot to make a potential res, but it is a quite tricky position to be fighting in. So you can see the hits still continuing between Ultra 6 and UAE in that kill feed. But now Plaza looking to potentially rush onto the side there of Bounce to get the numbers back up. We can see a few vehicles also now rotating up in the distance. But this is quite the point of contention for these teams that we have here. I mean, Cartel doing quite a smash-up job here, sending the herd onto the side there of Gun. But will Squeak be able to follow through and to cause even more chaos?
Yeah, unfortunately, Comfy Cartel not really finding success here today. In the previous 2 games, they're desperately looking to make up the difference now and put a couple of points on the board. And you can see those long-range engagements, they're trying their utmost to make it happen. Gun still recuperated, no problem. They haven't been taken down just yet. They realize they're in a bit of a tough spot considering their cover is not all that good, but all they have to do is just retreat behind the hillock and jump into the vehicle, potentially regroup, and they don't really have to do anything too crazy here. They can just disengage. They're in the unique position of, well, we can just head out and leave. And of course, that Blues are now moving in and are getting ready to shift on up. Let's take a look and see where it's going to go. Very much central in, just leaning towards the east, which does mean that a couple of teams will have to move very slightly, and a large concentration of teams off towards that southwestern side and the western side of that zone. So I'm expecting at least some fights to happen in that direction.
Yeah, I mean, this could potentially be yet another city finish, like we had, of course, on Erangel. But now the team's looking to still just hold on. NFxUnique, they have the Young Thunder team right here alongside them up in Hacienda del Patron. So quite a bit of pressure. Whether or not they'll be able to make through this, we'll be finding out in due time. But now, Gun, as we can see, of course, just occupying the compound a little bit further down south. So it is, at the current moment, still a decent position to be in. But, of course, we're going to be looking to see where the teams are going to try and rotate on through, as G3 is now taking the heads onto the side there, of course, of the natural killers. But here we go, Influence now looking to aggress onto the Comfy Cartel, hoping for an opening so they can just send the herd on in. Hainsley, of course, taking a slight bit of damage. Not Gaming also now moving into position just off to the side. But this is where we see quite a few teams now coming in with their rotations, looking for that setup, looking for that positional play. And it is going to be quite the challenge, as we have quite a few teams. In fact, all of the teams still alive. 16 teams, 58 players, as we now move to the end of our third phase.
Yeah, and as we do head in towards that direction, we got a little bit of explosions coming through. Comfy Cartel now pushing up, as of course they do need some kills to happen. But whether they can make it or not is a different question. They are definitely under some serious pressure here. Influence Rage moving up, getting a little bit of a flank coming through there as well. And of course, with the team on the back end, you also need to be careful of those third-party shots. Not Gaming Squad also under a little bit of fire there as they take quite a bit of damage. You can see Comfy Cartel, they are absolutely surrounded at the moment. Not Gaming putting a couple of those long-range shots in as well to influence Rage. So you can see there is quite a, it looks like a big star almost of teams just surrounding in the area. Squeak now going down, taking quite a bit of damage there. Mercury just putting those shots in, getting the first, picking that one up for influence Rage. That's a guaranteed kill there, and some points as well. But this is definitely a very pressurized situation with all of these teams in the surrounding area. If anyone makes a false move, it could mean some really bad things for the team.
Yeah, and of course, everyone being so reluctant. No one wants to be the first one sent back into the lobby. But this is a battle royale. The teams are going to fall. And of course, the question is, who will be the first? As we can see now, G3 just slowly tapping away yet again, finding the hits on in. Immortalz now being the team that is suffering the wrath coming in there from G3. But now, Not Gaming, looking to find their path, their rotational path in towards that zone. Just right here on the eastern end. They do have a team up ahead. But I'm curious to see, of course, just what the zone is looking like, as there's so many potential angles for the teams to still try and move into. Yes, we are in the fourth phase, right? Yes, the zone isn't all that big. We do still have a huge number of teams, but look at the space, all right? Especially up in towards the northeast, between Rainbow Six and the Immortalz, quite a bit of space for the teams to move in, but now absolute chaos erupting down on towards that southwestern side, as we see BBC, G3, Young Thunder, as well as Gun, all now occupying that space, and it is an absolute bloodbath.
Yeah, I know, this is what we expect. Let's have a look and see how G3 performs under this pressure as BBC moves in. All the teams up ahead of them. Scincerity always right up ahead as well. Nade going through in towards Muffin and Respect. That might be the end of them, but no. Indeed, they will survive that one. But Six just going to prep another one. got some nades in pocket, but isn't going to chance pushing up just yet. Has sent them through, and maybe going to take the chance now. Pushing up, sidewinding straight up, going to spot out the jump shot as well. The shot's coming in from NFxUnique as well. Fear putting the hits in towards Rainbow Six. Absolute chaos is in the ranks at the moment. Molly goes through, but the third-party shots come through as well, taking him down. G3 need to be super careful, not in a position to assist the team. The Thirst, of course, coming through. Zist putting those shots in as well. NFxUnique picking up some points. You can see Nerf trying to put something back as well. Absolute chaos down here towards the bottom of the map or the playable zone. At the moment, things just super cram-packed. I mean, even though there is space up towards the north, no one can make the rotation because it's just too many teams, just too many players, just too many crosshairs to watch out for. It is just super, super difficult to make anything happen. Gun, Scincerity, BBC, G3, all crammed up into such a small zone. Of course you're going to have the fighting. Of course you're going to have the explosions. Of course you're going to have the mayhem. That's exactly what we expect to happen in a situation like this.
Yeah, and of course, we're only going to be seeing things getting tougher and tougher as that zone is now about to start moving up once again. And the teams will have to get those rotations in. Of course, now we can see that kill feed just going absolutely berserk as all these teams are now starting to fight it out. But we still haven't lost a team. The numbers have fallen. We've been reduced down to 50. Whoa, make that 48 now. The hits, of course, coming on in. Oh, our first team to get sent on back being the Drogons. But now G3 looking to continue the carnage onto the side there of Rainbow Six, Madagascar. But Buden taking a bit of damage in the process as well. Of course, the teams all lining up. Everyone wanting to get a piece of the pie. Immortalz also just positioned a slight bit up in towards the north of them. Scincerity also looking to make a stand, holding on towards that western edge of the zone. And of course, BBC right here up in the mix. So 4 teams that we can see right in front of us, but even more teams if we look to that mini-map.
Oh man, let's hit you with some numbers there. That was 18 minutes before we dropped our first team, which is a considerable amount of time. I think that's over halfway through the general length of a game. And so, yeah, hopefully we see things happen a little bit more quickly from now on. Buden, of course, going to put some shots through Zist, continuing to be an absolute menace with that AWAM. Definitely, definitely not somebody you want to find yourself on the wrong end of. Of course, the zone has shifted up, as you can see on the map there towards the east. Lots of teams going to find themselves outside of that area, have to move in very, very quickly. G3 still up here with Scincerity and BBC. Of course, Immortalz and NFxUnique up in the north, down towards the south. Cartel getting hammered from all directions. They're very split up, not in a very strong position here. NFxUnique now moving in, putting some shots across towards G3, as well as the Thundercats, who are putting the pressure on. G3 not in a very good position here, and they are losing ground as well as position. In fact, I think they might even just drop all of their players here. Fleco losing so much HP, not in a position to challenge anything at this stage. And of course, with Scincerity and BBC on the opposite side, they're just sandwiched in between a rock and a hard place, and an even harder place than that. Fleco going down, Gunner, the last one up and running for the team, and has just anything to do. I have no idea if he can make it up. The smoke has been popped, but can he endure the crosshair is the question. We've got NFxUnique just keeping that watchful eye out. Young Thundercats crawling through the dirt to make sure that they've got an eye on the horizon, see what is going on, because it is absolute madness. It's absolute mayhem. Fleco, of course, getting taken down. Rogue gonna hit the deck as well as the shots from BBC come through. Gunner also gonna hit the deck and crawl through the dust to stay alive at this point. Scincerity now rolling on up with the car. Gunner takes a little bit of damage, but it's superior, trying to fight here, keep himself alive. Going to get pressurized by Scincerity. Cage also putting the hits in towards the Immortalz here, holding down the fort on the top of this roof. Pounds putting the shots in with that Mini 14 long range. Silent going to go down as well as Snurra hitting the deck. BBC taking quite a lot of damage there. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to make it through. Indeed, getting wiped out all over the show. It is absolute madness. 11 teams, 31 players left remaining here, and they are all just squeezed into the western side of the zone at this point.
It is absolute brutality looking at the zone and just the sheer number of players still alive in it. And of course, the positions of these teams are so tough. I mean, this western front is absolutely insane, but now the Natural Killers are looking to add on to that as they now too start rushing up, looking to potentially try and capitalize off of the chaos. But now Shroud and of course Rashi getting put in quite the difficult position as they are now losing 2 of their team members, and the numbers now being quite difficult for the Natural Killers. Now, as Shroud also gets knocked out, it is going to be absolutely tough for Roshi to make that stand. But NFxUnique just holding on for dear life, already managing to find 7 kills. And almost all the teams left in the lobby is situated on this western side. But now Zist looking to step on up, and there we go. The hits come through, and that is a very abrupt end to the Natural Killers. But of course, looking at the rest of the zone, we have that shift coming in once again, moving up on towards the north, but no teams within the zone just yet. Of course, they're all still busy fighting it out on the edge of the blue. And this is where it's going to be pretty interesting to see how the teams are going to try and get themselves back up in towards the zone, because a lot of them are still caught in all these really uncomfortable, challenging engagements.
Yeah, not to mention the zone also has very little cover, it looks like, from the map there. So they have a very tough fight ahead of them now. Gun moving up, puts the shots in, keeping themselves alive here. Gun very low on HP, and they have really found themselves under pressure here. So they are going to be grateful to have won that fight, and going to try and get some reses in. Smokes, of course, getting popped, and 8 teams remaining. Look at those HPs, just absolute travesty all across the board for some of these teams. They just cannot keep up with the pace because there's too much to worry about, and those numbers dropping left, right, and center. 7 teams remaining now. Just moving through, can't land the shots, and that is it. Natural Killers getting taken straight out as well, moving us down to 6 remaining teams here. We're almost in our top 5 here. The Young Thundercats having made it up this far, quite an impressive feat for them, especially considering that they were on the back end of the previous round. Now certainly stepping it up to a different level. Gun still continuing to be low on HP here as they try and recuperate some of their losses. Definitely not going to be easy for them, but now, of course, the Young Thundercats up ahead. Pluto looking for some of those long-range shots in towards Influence. Rage Fear on the back end as well. Going to capitalize off of that one and put the last hits in towards Ainsley. Taking him down to 5 teams. So we finally found ourselves in the top 5 teams for game number 3. Gun just finding themselves in such a tough position. They are hit from all sides. Pluto was doing quite a bit of damage to them, keeping them on their toes. They start to rotate away, barely surviving by the skin of their teeth for the time being, but Nerf now finding another barricade right up ahead of them, an obstacle to try and overcome. Superior trying to put the shots in there. Pluto continuing to be a nuisance on the back line. That's going to be devastating damage done to Gun, and this might just be the final nail in the coffin for them. 1 player left. Aimbot has to do it all against all of these teams. Pluto continuing to do much damage towards the Young Thundercats. Now Aimbot does go down, just taken too much advantage by all of these teams here. The Young Thundercats continuing to stay alive. The Immortalz on the one side, Fear on the other side. We have 4 teams remaining here, but it looks like the Young Thundercats are getting nailed as well. Too many guns, too many angles, too many shots to deal with here. And now it is going to be a battle of the remnants of these remaining teams here. Adam is very low on HP there, keeping the Young Thundercats' hopes and dreams alive. As well as Fear. Me on the other side, also keeping Fear's dreams alive. It's the Immortalz here. Python going to be keeping the Immortalz dreams alive. It is literally just Pluto and Matrix here for UAE, who have indeed been leading the pack in terms of the leaderboard, looking to maybe put another chicken down for the final game here of today. Who is going to take this chicken?
I mean, UAE is still very much in contention of running for that chicken dinner as they now move in, taking out Young Thunder. They only now have 2 solos to go up against. That, of course, being the side there of the Immortals. So you can see Python just up ahead, as well as Fear Me off in the distance there. So now, of course, UAE are going to be looking to set themselves up on towards the zone and looking to dominate what is left of the lobby, as they now going up as a 2-man squad against the 2 remaining solos. Quite a bit of an interesting play that could still come from this, as we've seen, you know, the solo players really being capable of pulling hats out of rabbits. And now Fear Me trying to out-heal that zone, but of course the blue zone is absolutely brutal as it is closing in. Fear Me will start running out of meds, has got 5 to make use of for the current time, but Matrix looking to scout things out from that little watchtower, looking to see if you can find the opening on to the side potentially of the Immortalz, as Python is the last hopeful, also just scanning the edge of the blue, knows that there's someone up ahead, right? He just doesn't know exactly where, and we can see, of course, exactly where Fear Me is, But it's going to be interesting to see just how long Fiemi is going to try and stay out in the blue, as he now has quite a bit of a distance to cover to make it up in towards that zone successfully. 57 meters to go. This could be the final stand. Yes, Fiemi putting the hits in, but it is not enough. The spray not working out. But here we go now. UAE hearing the shots. They are ready to strike as they come rushing in on towards Python. And Python now, facing a very brutal finish right there as UAE come in claiming their first chicken for today. But of course now just improving the dominance they've been able to show so far, securing themselves a 7-kill game. Immortalz finishing in second on 4, and of course Fear finishing up on third place with 6 kills. So this has been an absolutely really tough match, but of course NFxUnique securing themselves 8 kills up in 7th place. So still, even though they didn't manage to make it up into the top 5, they still did so in fashion, finishing off on a really strong kill count, and that could actually be quite beneficial for them in the standings.
Yeah, it certainly could. And I mean, props to UAE for that 3-man chicken dinner, as well as bringing in a considerable number of kills. There's 7 for them, which is quite impressive. That's definitely going to go a long way to reinforcing their position on the top of that leaderboard.
And position reinforcement is what we're talking about, as Doxit has been reinforced back into the team here. How's it going, guys? That was an amazing gameplay. Watching the winner chicken dinner being taken away. And we look forward to seeing what's happening with the leaderboard. As we say always in Nigeria, the table has been shaken up with teams moving up and down. And I'm telling you, this is the action. That is the Umzansi Esports League Season 3, of course, brought to you by Nodwin Gaming. Listen, DK, what do you have to say about that last match? Like, what are we looking at right now?
Well, as you can see, just looking at the standings, it has been an absolute challenging match for the teams. I mean, we don't have any team breaking into double digits with regards to kills. I mean, Undisputed managing to secure themselves 7, Gun bringing in a banger of a game, securing themselves 9, and then of course NFxUnique, as I've mentioned before, securing themselves 8 kills. So a really good showing with regards to points, especially for the top 7 placing teams. And I mean, taking into consideration that the first team only fell 18 minutes into this match, it has been an absolute challenging game for the teams. You know, everyone holding on to so deep into this match, passing that halfway point. No surprise that we see the kills and the points looking the way they are. And of course also the standings of the individual teams, where they've been able to find themselves. And looking at this, G3 has just been having a really tough day. I mean, teams are probably allowed to have tough days, rough days. You know, it happens to the best of us. So we definitely got to be looking to see how G3 would potentially be bouncing back. Even the Natural Killers, we've seen a really strong performance come in from them, as well as Scincerity. But we're going to be looking to seeing what that will bring as we, you know, move on through, and how today's games could potentially have impacted the master standings. But our MVP there, being Matrix, finding the 5 kills and 770 damage. A really good survival time there as well. But of course, no surprise to see the MVP being from the Undisputed AE team, as they were just playing an absolutely phenomenal game. And in fact, they've been playing so many phenomenal matches all the way up until today.
Yes, and looking at Matrix coming through as the MVP, 5 kills, 770 damage. Look at that overall leaderboard. Patchy, what are you seeing?
Well, I'm seeing Undisputed AE in a very much undisputed lead right now, 141 points total, which is absolutely nuts. You can see 55 kill points coming in to supplement the 86 placement points that is coming through for them right now, which is absolutely nuts. I'm not sure if I've seen that in any recent times, but of course, Gun still up there with the best of them as well. Position number 2, 113 points. It's absolutely nuts. Some of these teams really putting in the numbers.
And we're looking at Influence Rage also hanging in there, but still at least 20 points behind the top 2 as the leaderboard and the numbers whittle down. But as DK pointed out, the difference between the guys from 9th all the way down to 15th is a mere 11 points, so which means there's still a lot up for grabs as we go through the second page of the leaderboard.
That second page there, we could see Ultra 6 sitting up there in 9th position at the moment. 66 points, as well as Fear. Euphoric God's not too far behind as well with 65. So looking pretty considerable for a lot of these teams.
I'm wondering what we see on the next page of the leaderboard to see who exactly are the guys that are wallowing down there in despair. And it is looking at teams like Not Gaming, Aphelion, Apex, Black Clover, Natural Killers in 17th to 20th space. And then we're looking at the Comfy Cartel, Slime 4KT, Drogons, and Rain from Hell, rounding out the final page. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the action. That is the Umzansi Esports League. Looking at the kill leaders, as we have seen some movement with Mercury jumping in there as well. We've got Potato in first place with 18 kills, damage of 3,636. Gun Pounds. Hello? You said hello. That was a bit scary. Pounds with 17 kills, Mercury with 17 kills, and of course BBC Lord with 16 kills. We had some movement up and down that kill leaderboard, which is just fantastic to see that some of our players are being consistent and other players are bringing in the kills as required within the matches. Ladies and gentlemen, I just have to say it's been an exciting night with all the technical difficulties and all the beautiful gameplay that we've seen. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want a quick thank you to Pachi and DK for doing an amazing job bringing you all the action and everything else in between. My name is Dr. Sid. We've had an amazing night. Thank you so much, and we'll see you tomorrow for some more action in the Umzansi Esports League Season 3. And of course, it is brought to you by Northern Gaming. Have a good night and see you tomorrow.